Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Michelle, and this is Heart of Michi. And today I have Joy, or Cosmic Death. Many of you may know her from LoveWho. She is a mod or an admin for the Discord server and is also very, very active in both servers, our server and LoveWho's server, and I'm sure other servers as well. Do you want to say anything about yourself before I just weirdly talk about how much you're in servers?
uh, I also sometimes spend time in my DMs in Discord, so but yeah, other than that, no, that's about it. It's that and work and sometimes sleep. So yeah.
Is there any other hobby you have besides Discord?
Uh yeah, I have I like make a lot of things with crafting and stuff. So
Okay.
I think like art kind
Mm.
of stuff. Yeah.
What kind of crafts are you into?
Uh I do all sorts of stuff. Oh my god, hi Rebby.
Hi.
Yeah, I do all kinds of stuff. Just basically whatever I'm trying to learn, I'll get new materials or new tools and just work out how to make new things. So yeah, not one set type of thing. Weird
So
stuff?
just weird stuff. Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Well, I am really excited. I want to delve more into that, but I also want to introduce the topic and then maybe we can loop back around to that because I am curious about that because I'm sure that's kind of somewhat involved and I feel like there's a stereotype that ISTPs are not artistic, even though that's not true at all. But I feel like that stereotype exists regardless. So
Mm.
I think it'll be interesting to talk about. But what I actually want to talk about today is Joyce is somebody who is a huge part of our community, and she has been on quite the typing journey. She obviously you took a bunch of online tests, right? When did you first start like finding out about MBTI?
So I think I was like getting into like conflicts at work and stuff. I had heard about MBTI when I was going to like community college and they were doing like tests and stuff, like I don't know, some kind of placement test. And I think I had heard about it then, but I didn't really look into it at all. And then years later, after going through a couple of jobs and just being like, wow, I am I'm not getting along very well in the social aspect of things. Like I'll make
Mm,
friends, but when it comes to like the divide between being sociable and like working, it's like there was just this step that I was missing in like
mm,
going from being pleasant and then being blunt. Like somehow that was not working for me. And I was like clearly getting really impatient with people and tasks and stuff like that. And then I thought, I should probably look into this. There has to be something that I can work on here, some way that I can grow and get over this like constant hurdle that I keep finding myself running into. And yeah, and so I started looking at YouTube and I started looking at MBTI content and typology in general, just like personality stuff and, you know, how to get along better with your colleagues or how to like not suck at tasks at work and how to stay in your chair for longer than
yeah.
3 minutes and get a job done that's boring. So yeah, that's where it started. And then eventually I reached out to like LoveWho or LoveWho, and then, you know, I was typed by Luann and Nathan, and they were so helpful, and they've continued to be super helpful. So, yeah, that's how I really started getting into it, and it's only escalated from there,
Yeah.
exponentially, just like growing.
So when you first took the test, how did you feel about the results that you were getting?
Oh, it was so weird. I thought this sounds sort of like me. I think I took like a 16 personalities test. I mean, am I allowed to say that? I don't want to like
Yeah.
start harping on them or anything. I think it's a
No, it's okay.
good test for like figuring out some things, like, but I don't think it's not truly indicative of like actual MBTI types. But yeah, it was interesting. I could see some things in there that were useful and made sense, but I got the impression from my results, like I kept getting INFJ, um, there was just something about it that wasn't matching up, and I just wanted to find out more, and that's when I really started looking at, like, maybe I should get help with this, maybe I should, like, reach out to somebody with, like, the ability to give me their insight or their opinion of what I might be, because I don't know if I'm looking at myself objectively even.
Right.
Yeah, it's really difficult to do. Like, looking at ourselves is one of the hardest things. To really be objective about it, it's hard.
It is so hard to be objective about yourself.
Mm.
It is like a constant struggle. How much of it is you idealizing yourself and having this idealized version of who you are versus who you actually are? I know that if I have often taken the test and gotten the J at the end, even though I'm not a J at all, because I have put a lot of work into being organized. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm so organized. So I answer this test. I'm like, I'm being
Yeah.
honest. Like, I'm so organized. Look at me go. And then someone will like come in my room and be like, are you sure about that?
Have you seen you? Have you met
Right.
you?
Exactly. I'm not gonna prove it right now. I just filmed a video and I tore up a paper towel as a gag, and now there are just pieces of paper towel all over my floor. That's a whole nother story. Um,
Oh my god.
so you said in the beginning that originally why you got into personality was because you were struggling with the the two sides of you where you could be either really good at getting along with people or overly blunt. And when you get INFJ, that description probably doesn't really line up because INFJs don't usually get stereotyped as people who struggle with their bluntness. More so, they struggle with how much they tend to care about other people's opinions. Did you relate to that aspect of it?
Um, I think once I got that and I was like, "Oh, maybe I'm just like maybe that's a variation within INFJ."
Mm,
Because like, 16 types, trying to fit all people into these 16 types,
right.
there's gotta be variations within, each type. So I was like, "Oh, maybe I'm just like on the strong end for like, maybe I value or think about the logical aspects of things more than the feeling aspects. Maybe that's where I'm like different or something like that." And
Mhm.
also, I was thinking about things from my past, like, oh, maybe my FE is just really underdeveloped or something like that. Like maybe I just messed up. Maybe I'm like a really bad INFJ.
Mm.
Yeah, like I'm just not very good at being my type. Okay, guys, just get off my
Ah.
back. Um,
So, oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry. Go on.
Oh no, I was just gonna ramble a little bit longer because I didn't know what to say.
Oh, you know what? I ramble a lot as well. Curious question. So you said that you thought you might be, um, more on the thinker side, maybe just like skipping the feeling, which I'm sure there's plenty of like forums and stuff out there where people talk about like the INFJ jumping, like or like the INFJ loop, the NITI.
Mm.
How long was it from when you started taking the test to when you started and actually reached out to Nathan and Lou for a typing session?
I honestly don't remember. My memory's really bad, especially for like timelines. So
Okay.
yeah, it was
Since the
certainly within a
pandemic?
year.
Okay.
So so they typed me, I think this was over a year ago now. Like it
Mhm.
was just before the pandemic hit that I had been like tagged by them. And then before that I had taken like the 16 personalities type test. I don't know, within a year before
Mhm.
that, and probably like I think I've taken it a couple of times. One point when I was like feeling especially like just like not, I don't want to say that cynical is an indication that you'll get INTJ, but I got
Mhm.
INTJ when I was in a cynical state because I was just
Uh-huh.
like, man, everything's the worst. And like maybe I was just like being more like assertive in, my approach or my thoughts. Maybe it like adapted some of my answers. But yeah, that doesn't mean that I think INTJs are like super cynical or anything like that. Yeah.
Well, they are. No. Uh,
I don't know.
I'll gladly. No, just kidding.
Oh my god. All the INTJs are just like, how dare you?
I
Like,
know.
yeah.
Oh, he's like, you guys are talking crap about INTJs. I'm leaving. I'm offended.
No,
Sorry if
no,
you. We don't mean to
no.
offend you. It was a joke.
It wasn't
So,
a joke.
what were your feelings when you discovered that you were an ISTP after getting typed by Lou and Nathan? Actually, let me write that down.
So it didn't feel like too much of a surprise because even when they typed me, it was kind of we were on the fence, and I mean, there's only so much that you can do within a short time frame when you're trying to type an individual, right? Like you're doing your best with a limited amount of information about that person, and I think they did an excellent job considering how much information they had about me. But yeah, at the time it was the difference between, they and I could not decide between INFJ, like, and ISTP, or specifically like a NITI version of an INFJ versus a TINI version of an ISTP. So perhaps like a jumper type, if you're looking at OPS. So yeah, at the time, it was like I have to decide on a label. And I chose the INFJ just because I was like, well, I've got an INFJ elsewhere, and whatever, I'll just go with that. And then I started like going about my day and like approaching things like gosh, sorry, I got a notification.
Okay.
Like my personal growth, I was looking at it from the perspective of somebody that is living their life as an INFJ, right? Like
Mhm.
or is an INFJ. And I kept running into these hurdles like, wow, I'm having really weird interactions with people, like the same interactions that I've always been having. I don't feel like I'm really getting a handle on this.
Mm.
I'm not getting better at what I started to learn was FE, because even at that point I was still getting to know the functions.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I kept hitting these like FE hurdles. FE hurdles. Um, all those effing. Can I swear on here? I don't even know.
All those effing hurdles. No, you can swear, that's
Yeah.
fine. Actually, the way that YouTube monetizes, you can actually cuss quite a bit so long as it's not within the first 30 seconds and still be monetized. There's like really weird rules,
Ooh.
but there's something about like how long it is into the video that matters. And we're already 12 minutes in, so we're safe.
Oh, then fuck it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So yeah, I think once I realized that ISTP was a better fit, and I spoke with like Nathan, because I keep in touch with them. That relationship has only been more and more helpful and really positive. And obviously being on Discord and servers where other people are talking about typology and specifically MBTI, um, coming to a realization that ISTP was a better fit, it really, really helped me, because I was like, okay, now I'm not putting myself under all this crazy stress to be
Mm,
a type that I know just didn't quite fit. Like those
right.
hurdles that if you're an INFJ, you're supposedly going to have like FE as your auxiliary function, right? So it's the second function,
Right.
and it's supposed to be something that you're really good at. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. And I'm putting myself under tons of pressure to be better at this thing, when what I should be doing is focusing on working on it
Right.
instead of just assuming that I'm good at it and not being good at it, and then screwing up interactions with people because I'm just not getting it right. I'm not
Mm.
looking at working on it properly. Um, so yeah, it was like a relief, a huge relief actually. And I felt like I kind of like, I don't know, it gave me more confidence to be myself instead
Mm.
of going about my interactions with other people like walking on eggshells, because I was always afraid that I was going to like make a mistake. Now it's not about like feeling confident or comfortable to make mistakes, but it's like I have to be more forgiving of myself and
Right.
understand that I've got work to do, instead of just
Mm.
being like beating myself up every time I make a mistake and going like, this is supposed to be second nature to me, and it's just not. So
Right.
yeah, it was freeing.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of pressure to have because it's the same cognitive functions, it's just in a slightly different order. But by assuming that you're stronger at certain functions, you're having to um, almost like pretend like you're better at them, and then when you see the issues with them, you're like, why am I struggling with this? I should be good at this. Was it kind
Right.
of confusing in the first place that you were supposed to be good, but the whole reason that you got into MBTI in the first place was the FE struggles?
um, yeah, but I mean, I think I think it's very. I think there are a couple of things going on here. I am pretty good at like interacting with other people in like a casual way. So I come
Mm,
across as like really friendly. I don't know if that's like being a female. I don't know, like, and obviously there are these expectations that are kind of like built into you from day one where you have to
right.
be like more amiable or whatever in like public or personal interactions and stuff. And I don't know if that is it. I don't know if it's, has something to do with like Enneagram. If like
Mhm.
being a six that is self preservation first, I'm like, I have to be kind and cautious because I want to avoid all of the potential negative
Right.
consequences of having a poor interaction and then worrying about like, you know, losing stuff or making my life unstable or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, just being more friendly as long as there isn't pressure put on me. As soon as there's a pressure, that's when it all collapses because I'm like, right, I don't know how to handle this tricky situation. If everybody's fine, it's easy. But
Mm,
as soon as somebody's like a bit of a dick or is just like, I don't know, just like intentionally abrasive, I have like a knee jerk response and it's in me and I don't always like outwardly express it, but internally I get furious. I have like this really bad reaction inside that's just like, gosh, there was literally no need for that. Like that's a stupid thing to do. Like why did you do that? And thinking that people are stupid is also not really doesn't seem like an INFJ kind of thing, at least
mm,
to my knowledge. Like I feel like they're much more forgiving or at least accepting of other people's misgivings,
mhm.
and I'm not as much that. So that's something that I need to work on is patience. I've forgotten what the question was.
No, that's okay. You've been doing a great job answering it, actually. And I have a little bit of a follow-up question, which is, have people treated you differently with the label of ISTP versus the label of INFJ?
Yeah,
And in what
yeah.
way?
Oh yeah, sorry. I was like,
No, that's okay.
yes, they have. Next question.
No, I asked a close-ended question, so a closed answer is what I deserved for my question, so it's all good.
Oh
I set
boy.
myself up for that one.
Oh, so yeah, I think there were certainly interactions that I had when I was going by INFJ where people would question my logic a lot more
Hmm.
because it'd be like, oh, you're a feeling type, you're not thinking about this logically, your reasons for doing such and such a thing are this and this. Like they could tell me why I'm doing a thing. Like you don't know
Wow.
my mind, you don't know where I'm coming from, you're making an assumption based on this label, right? You're making
Hmm.
an assumption based on my type as to what my perspective is. And to some degree I can understand that because we're all going to make assumptions based on the labels that we give ourselves, right? We're going to expect to have that to a certain degree. But I think when somebody tells you something and then you disagree with them and they double down as though they know you better than you know yourself, it's just like, no. So if I was presenting a logical explanation for something and I've already TI'd my way through it, I've like done all of the checks and balances, I've done the back and forth inside my mind as to whether or not this makes sense to me, and I've come to a conclusion, and this is the conclusion that I've come to. And then to be told, well, you're just thinking that because other people think that,
Hmm.
or other
Wow.
people value that. And it's just like, no. And then once I changed over to ISTP, which obviously was a better fit anyway, it was just like I got less of that questioning. And I was just like, wow, I feel so bad for people that are like having to deal with that because
Right.
I just had to deal with that. Now I get it. Like now I understand because I've just had all of that burden taken off of me. People just give me more credit
Hmm.
based on the fact that I'm like a TI dom. Um, I do get more challenges about things that are logical, but it's like, or like based on thinking, introverted thinking. But there is also just like kind of a little bit more acceptance that what I say is like well thought through. And that
Mhm.
really bothers me about like, stigmas or, associations and kind of like the way that people treat each other
Right.
in the community.
Yeah, hearing that kind of pisses me off a little bit too.
Mhm.
Like, how are you going to say an INFJ hasn't thought through what they're thinking? Like, INFJs are some of the most well thought out people. Like, they have introverted intuition as their main function, which is a thought, like it is inside their head. Like everything is thought out for them, and they're trying to appease other people, but ultimately they want to share their conclusions that they've come to. They want to um, give that knowledge to other people, and it's kind of rude that that would be shut down in that way. That kind of is very discouraging, especially well, I mean, for anyone, but like that makes me like I need to know who these people are and tell them off. Protect the INFJ, you know. Um, no, but it's also really interesting that you say as soon as your label changed, people were more accepting of your positions, but also more willing to counter your positions as well, more willing to have that debate with you.
Mhm.
I Now I want to question people who do that. Like, why are you guys more willing to contradict an ISTP than an INFJ? Because both are going to want to talk about this. Both of them are going to want to like discuss the ideas and explore the ideas. Like, just because one has extroverted feeling higher doesn't mean that they don't want to talk about these things or don't want to discuss them in like a calm and open-hearted way.
Mhm.
Um, but also, it sounds like pressure to did the pressure to be nice change at all, or is it just mostly like how people address your logic?
I didn't feel as much pressure to be, um, yeah, as nice. I don't know how to put that in a way
Mhm.
that like doesn't kind of like make it sound like ISTPs are just expected to be total jerks or something. Because all of the ISTPs that I've like encountered, where I feel like it's been verified or in some way, there's like some way that they've made sure that they've done their due diligence to figure out whether or not they're really an ISTP or not. Um, that could just be that they're more mature and therefore they're like perhaps more level-headed about things anyway. But those people that I've like encountered and have thought through that, they seem to be really chill. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know where that comes from, but I did definitely feel like there was not like the same pressure to be super nice to anybody.
Mhm.
And that just makes me want to be better about it because I don't want to live up to some expectation that I'm going to be um, blunt or like, just not giving a crap about other people's feelings. I do.
Right.
I care deeply. I just don't always do it right. Um,
Mhm.
and that's what I'm trying to work on is like I'm not always the best at responding in a way that is going to comfort somebody or like, if somebody reaches out to me and they're coming to me with something that's sensitive, I don't always know how to handle that. Like I don't always know how to like make them feel better or if that's even what they want. Yeah.
Mhm. Interesting. You know, I have a couple of thoughts that are all trying to come out at once. First one being, I know that I change what my expectations are for people based on whatever type label they've put. Like I would be for TI DOMs, for example, I definitely am more forgiving of times when they're rude, and try to work with them a little bit more actively than someone who's, say, an INFJ. Like, I don't think I would necessarily actively work with an INFJ quite as much to try to help them be better at FE than I would an ISTP. But I'd also probably have the assumption that if they are INFJ, I don't need to worry about it anyway. And
Mhm.
I don't know. That's interesting because there's definitely like these little biases that we have that are kind of formulated with all the best intentions. Like my intentions are definitely like wanting to be as helpful as possible, but
Mhm.
in a way, like I'm kind of approaching people incorrectly if they are mistyped and think that they're a certain way. And that's not really fair to other people to do that because, well, it could be, but it also couldn't be. Now I'm all like overthinking it. Like, what
Uh,
are the benefits of actually doing that?
I mean, that's so considerate. And I think I think it's important to think that way, right? To question those types of things, because if you're worried about one, treating somebody based on like, the stereotypes or whatever, or just making assumptions, it's important not to do that to an extent where you're going to prevent them from being themselves, right?
Right.
Because it doesn't matter what type you are, you're going to be a little different from the next person, even if they're the same type
Exactly.
as you, right? So you might handle things differently. You might have a different personal background. Your history might be different.
Right.
You might react to certain words in a different way because you've heard them expressed in another context or whatever. So everybody's different, and learning each person is the important thing.
Right.
But I do think that there's a point to having a label, and I do get the benefit of like maybe somebody who is struggling with something, like you said, like a TI Dom. If you're talking to somebody like that and they're a little bit more abrasive, a little bit more blunt or rude, you might be more forgiving of that. You might have more charity of thought
Mm.
based on the understanding that they most likely are not necessarily doing it intentionally,
Right.
or
Exactly.
it's something that they struggle to understand that they're doing wrong, or maybe they need to work on. And maybe that's where the moderation comes into play, between treating somebody with like this understanding based on a stereotype versus
Right.
trying to think with a bit more charity based on where their shortcomings might lie. So yeah, I think just like trying to approach every conversation with each individual with the most charitable thought process as possible, and saying like, hey, have you noticed that you keep encountering this type of thing? Because earlier I noticed this, and I just wondered if you had ever thought about that, if that was something that you keep running into. Maybe a conversation like that could help them understand whether or not they're mistyped,
Mhm.
or if they are struggling with that and they've noticed it in the past, they might not even recognize it.
Yeah. And you're bringing up an interesting topic that I think I would like to see more discussions of in general, which is how to approach people if you do believe they might be mistyped. Because that's definitely like a scary thing to approach because people have a lot of identity wrapped in what their type is. Um,
Mm.
if so, obviously, going to typing sessions is probably one of the safest ways to get typed because you're actively seeking it out. Um, but what you just said there is actually a really interesting way of approaching it, focusing more on the external behaviors and like asking them how they experience that and how they feel about that, and kind of using that as a starting place to open up the discussion to the possibility that they might actually be a different type. Um, it's really hard to approach people with that, especially because on the internet you have so little information and so many people are
Right.
willing to go right in and be like, dude, you're an ISFJ. You clearly don't know what you're talking about. There's a lot of people willing to talk down to people like that, especially in the type community. I don't know why people think that that's an appropriate way to address anyone. If that is something that you do, whoever is watching, just stop. Please stop doing that. You should
Yeah,
just not do
be chill,
that.
guys. Be chill. Like, you wouldn't like that to happen to you, so probably, don't do that to other people, right? Like it's pretty straightforward. Don't be a dick. um,
Exactly.
sorry.
But having an open discussion, I think, could be really helpful, um, because, like you said, if you're looking at yourself as if you're a different type than you are, you're going to be focusing on fixing things that you might not actually need to fix at all, and might actually be your strengths more than you think they are.
Mm,
Like, for example, extroverted sensing. If you're an INFJ, that's definitely something you need to work on to be
right.
more willing to actually implement these ideas that you have. But if you're an ISTP, there's no reason for you to really work on your SE. Like you're probably just fine with that. You're probably good at taking advantage of the moment. You don't need to work on that. And actually working on that might make you more impulsive or more aggressive and actually counterintuitive to what you're intending to do. Okay, I'm
Right
gonna
on.
actually I have a question. I saw some questions. Now the chat's going. Sorry, guys. I will get to your questions. Did the fact that you like ISTPs as a type make you second guess it being the right fit?
Yes.
Let's unpack that. There's clearly history behind this statement that we don't all have context to.
Right. So, okay. So thank you for asking that, Nathan. Yeah, like I I think ISTPs are pretty cool, and then I was like, well, I can't be an ISTP because they're really cool, and I'm like not really cool. I'm just a normal human worm baby, and and then but there are different people within the type, like we talked about before. Like there's going to be variation, and some people are more talkative even if they are the type that might be generally seen as less talkative, for example, or less well, yeah, I mean, the thing with like being less verbose, I think that's probably my biggest struggle. Is I thought, well, ISTPs don't talk a lot, but if I'm comfortable and I'm happy and I feel confident, I'll just yabber all day. Like if I'm having a good time with somebody, like I'm talking to you, like whatever, I'll just do it. It's not a
Yeah.
problem. It's fun.
And
But
she was also talking for like 3 hours on the server yesterday, by the way, after we watched this movie. I heard most of it, even though I didn't get to participate. I heard the talking. She can
that film
definitely
was so
talk.
good. We were all like, I bet he's the killer. No, I'm kidding. It's yeah. Anyway, yeah, that was a great movie chat. But yeah, so just the idea of what an ISTP was like, I was like, I think I just imagined them being this type that I could never possibly be. Like,
Mm,
but the functions are there and they are in the right order. So, I can be an ISTP and still be a complete dork in my
right.
mind. I don't know how other people see me, but that's not going to stop me from pursuing the growth path that an ISTP would take. So, until I know a better type, I'm just going to stick to ISTP. If that changes over time, that is fine with me because I would rather be the type that I actually am so that I can focus on the growth that I need to focus on than to stick to something based on it being cool. And
Mm,
I think that was like the question there from Nathan. Like, did the fact that I like ISTPs make me second guess that being the right fit? Yes, it did, because I don't want to just buy into being the type that I think is the best and trying to live up to that. You have to be real. You have to be realistic about who you really are. And if it's not working, if it's not fitting right, move on, find the right thing, because that's the only way that you're actually going to find improvement. The goal is not to just be the type that you find yourself to be. For most people, I would hope the goal is to find where you have those imbalances and try to work on them.
right. Yes, I 100% agree with you on that. I believe that it's an incredibly helpful growth tool more than anything. And something that you were saying, it's better to be willing to change your idea of what your type is if you're going to be closer to the truth. Because at the end of the day, the type is helping you understand what areas of your cognitive function that you are neglecting. And I'm saying cognitive function in a more general frame than with the MBTI use of cognitive function. I just mean like your overall cognitive function. Um, it's gonna be imbalanced in some way. And you may have times of your life where you actually are acting like a completely different type, and maybe you do need to work on those things, and that's okay. um, I personally would like to see less rigidity with type in MBTI. People being more open to how it is just a description of the way your mind is working at the time. Um, in my opinion, I'd like to see people find self-actualization and kind of be above type, kind of like transcend type, and be just like a person who can use these different cognitive functions at the right time to
Mm.
best approach their life. Um, that is, what I'm personally trying to do with MBTI is work on all of the cognitive functions so I can use them as I need to, rather than um, being stuck, you know, and even in like the last year, I have been kind of like fighting people telling me that I'm not an ENFP, which is like proof that I'm working. Like, it's definitely proof that I'm successfully working on these things and developing sides of my brain that weren't as strong, because people are clearly seeing me using functions that are not like my like favored functions or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, but it's almost made me double down on some really negative patterns of being an ENFP that I don't know if I would have doubled down as much on had I not been trying to like protect my identity in some way. Um,
Okay. Oh, wow. That
if
sounds
that
really
makes
hard.
It has been pretty frustrating and difficult actually.
Mhm.
And I just like have been having more and more like SI problems coming up because I've been trying so hard to like prove almost what my type is because people don't believe me. Even though it's so
Mhm.
counterintuitive, because even I have said like my whole goal is not to be a type, but I have felt the need to like work on this persona so that people will believe me long enough to listen to me about what I have to say.
Right.
And it's been really frustrating. Clearly, I'm getting emotional just talking about it. Gosh.
Yeah. Aw. Well, I mean, like, no matter what, you've got a whole history on your channel of videos that you've done over time, and you're going to see, in the long run, you're going to see your development as well. So you
Yeah.
can even track that. Like, you can track it for yourself. You have a catalog of these things, of your own personal development over time, whether or not you're focusing on your own development in those videos or not. But I mean, I'm just kind of like throwing out like an idea here of just, you know, screw what other people think, just do you. And if that helps at all, I think you're fabulous and you're doing a
Oh,
great
thank you.
job. And I think you're on the right path. So just stick to it. I don't know.
Thank you.
And tell me who to beat up for you. I don't know.
Yeah, we're about to go on a rampage, the two of us, beating up rude people out there on the internet.
Yeah, bring it.
Thinkers are smarter than feelers is just how yes, that I think that there's almost more of a stigma with intuition and sensing as to being intelligent than thinking and feeling, but I think that thinking and
Oh,
feeling is also problematic in that people assume NT just equates to intelligence and SF equates to just like not intelligence, and it's a whole mess. I am really annoyed with stereotypes. And, you know, I think that there's helpful benefits of having stereotypes because they help get people into it, because the stereotypes are archetypes, right? These archetypes of people that you see, and you're like, oh man, I've seen that character in a TV show. I've seen like 5 characters who are like this character in different TV shows. And now I can know that I can label that INFJ. Now I know what that means. And now I can start looking in my real life for people who match that. And that's really good, but also very limiting at the same time because, you know, there are billions of people on this planet. And if there are only 16 personalities between 7.5 billion people, there's gonna be variations. I don't know about you, but like if you take a random group of 100, they're not gonna equally divide into 16 parts, and each people within those 16 parts are gonna be exactly like each other. It's just not gonna happen.
right. Do you mind
Um,
if I like speak to that a little bit
yeah.
as well? So like, as soon as I asked, my brain was just like, like, but yeah, I think that whole thinkers versus feelers and all of that, like, just because somebody has TI or TE going on towards the top of their stack does not mean they have quality TI or quality
Mhm.
TE, especially like TI, right? Like those introverted versions of those functions, you know, FI and TI, there's something about them where it's like it's so personal, right? And if you have TI top, like that doesn't necessarily mean that your TI is good quality TI. It doesn't mean that you're going to be a more logical person necessarily. You might work with your own logic, like you're working along logic, but it is logic that is dictated by you. It is what makes sense to you. And if you're already on the wrong logical path, or it's like not based on reality or whatever you think is right or makes sense to you, that doesn't mean that you are right compared to somebody who doesn't necessarily have TI at the top. They might be more realistic. They might be making a better judgment on something, even if you have TI at the top. So just keep that in mind. You know, if you're a TI Dom, you know, INTPs and ISTPs out there, like just slow your roll. Don't assume that you're right just because you have TI at the top. It's not cool. You just come off as pompous.
Do you feel like that's something you've ever struggled with where it was hard to take in other people's opinions when it turned out that they were right and you were wrong?
Yeah, but I always needed like some kind of proof or some kind of evidence to add to or to
Mm-hmm.
like contrast against what I thought to be correct.
Okay.
As soon as there was extra evidence, or as soon as I was corrected in a way that I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know that before. Now I have that information. I can adjust what I thought was true. I can
Mm-hmm.
correct myself based on the fact that you've given me new evidence to work with. That is perfectly fine because it's not personal. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. I mean, it matters if somebody's like a jerk about it, because then I'm gonna be like, all right, you wanna be that way? That's cool. You might be right, but you're still a jerk. Like, um, but yeah, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. Uh, Same, Dio, same. This is a really good comment. I agree that people tend to underestimate the tertiary function. Um, Unfortunately, a lot. I think that actually might be why a lot of ISTPs type as INFJs because they are really often like put a lot of value in the NI and their ability to make these connections and like share those with other people. Um, there's definitely a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, and it's also kind of because it's in that child spot, the child spot.
The
I
child.
don't know what to call it. You know, the kids' corner, because it's over there. It's like it's often just kind of like really innocent as well. So, you know, when it's coming out to play, especially if you're tired or you're just having fun, sometimes people only see you in your relaxed state or when you're comfortable to take an assessment or something. Maybe that's part of it. Is just like you're willing to let that part of yourself flourish a little bit more.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know.
Where, I'm sorry, where, I'm like, I was gonna connect it somehow, and my mind is just not doing that right now for me. So I'm just gonna go right into this question. Where do you go where people care about type?
Cheers. Oh wait, no, that's where everybody knows your name. My bad. Oh boy. Oh no, that was like not the best joke. Fine. I've
I
got
mean,
plenty of them on this list over here that I printed out for this.
I think in the MBTI community, a lot of people care a little too much about what type other people are, um, and don't question enough like what type they are. Personally, I think that there's a little too much like projection going on within the community, which I think is normal because we're trying to we've learned this new system. It's a new way of categorizing people, and we want to figure out where everyone fits into this new category that we've learned. So we do try to type people actively. I mean, even last night we were watching Nightcrawler and we were having these like conversations about what type he is. We started off thinking we're like, all right, he's got TE. That's obvious. It's somewhere up there in his top functions. Like this guy just does not stop with his TE. And someone's like, but what if it's TI? And we're all like, no, it can't possibly be TI. It's TE. Like we got a little like excited about like, oh,
Oh my
we
god.
can agree on this. And then the three of us were thinking that it was like NISE. We're like, clearly he's an INTJ or ENTJ. And someone just innocently is like, are you sure not like ESTJ? And we're like, wait a second. I know that I initially rejected it like automatically. No, it's clear he doesn't have any SI. Um, but then as we watched it and I was observant of the actual behaviors and not my interpretation and just like being a little bit more open minded to that possibility, I convinced myself that the main character's an ESTJ by the end of the movie. I was feeling pretty convinced. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I was just like, I don't know what type he is. He's a monster. So
He's a
I was like,
monster, yeah.
I was pretty happy to just go with what everybody thought. But yeah, ESTJ, like, what was it, Enneagram 8 or something? And
Yeah.
yeah, that made so much sense for his character. If anybody has seen that film, I guess
Come
can
talk
I like
to us.
invite people to like comment below
Yes.
or whatever?
Yes, definitely comment below or come to the Discord server and tell us all your thoughts
Yes.
about it. We just watched Nightcrawler last night and had a really good discussion about it. It's such an intriguing movie that has a lot of layers. And like even after I've rewatched it now, I think that was my fourth time watching it, and it still has like new stuff to learn from it, which is just I think kind of hard to find in movies where they just like kind of unravel the more you watch them. So definitely come have this conversation with us. Um, do you think being an ISTP affects the way that you view yourself as an artist? I'm glad we're wrapping back around to that topic, by the way.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't really see myself as an artist, so I guess because I don't know if I would have just considered myself an artist if I was another. I have no idea. I don't know. I've never seen myself as an artist per se. I've listed myself as an artist, but because of the fact that that's what other people seem to perceive the work that I make is, they see it as art. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm an artist because I'm making the art. But in my mind, the art is like the least important part of it. Like I don't care about what I've made. At the end of it, it's just like a thing that can just disappear for all I care. Like it's done. And unless it's for somebody and it's special, like I really don't care if it gets scrapped, except for the fact that then it's a waste of material. So yeah. It's an expensive hobby to just be like, I made this thing, well, trash it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what do you think defines an artist, and why do you feel like that doesn't fit you?
I see artists as people that actually have some expression that they're trying to like get out. It's like they're expressing themselves or they're expressing their perspective or something. There's something going on there where they're like, I'm trying to get it out of me and put it into the thing. And the thing is supposed to represent something, right?
Okay.
I make stuff and it doesn't represent anything. Like it represents care for another person if it's a gift. Because I will think very carefully about like something that I'm making for somebody else. But other than that, it's just like I just don't care at all. Like what it is, I just want to learn how to make the thing or how to use the thing to make the thing. How to use those materials together or whatever. Learn and acquire a new skill.
That's such a fascinating way of looking at it. I definitely, I'm trying to think of the right words to say. I think that that's really fascinating because it like sounds so SETI, that you just like want to use the materials for what they are, figure out how you can put them together in different ways, and the outcome just happens to be art. It's not that you're going in with the intention, oh, I'm going to make this really cool expression of whatever. It's just, I want to figure out how to use these materials and have an outcome that is pleasing. And you make like a lot of like aesthetic things, right? Like you make like collages and stuff like that, right? And like little aesthetic artwork and whatnot.
Yeah, accessories and stuff, like small sculptures have been like something that I've been working on more recently. I think the main reason to make something that's more aesthetically pleasing is that I'm more likely to be able to get rid of it without just throwing it away. Because then it's more likely to like be something I can sell at a craft fair.
Like again, thinking about the resources. Can't waste these resources just for my experimentation needs. Must make it to where someone else will take it away so I can make more.
Right.
Oh my god, I love that.
I've got just so much stuff that is like in boxes. I don't care if those boxes accidentally went missing. Oh no. I'm glad. Like, oh no, suddenly relieved. Like, if somebody else wants to set up a shop, oh god, I shouldn't be like saying this on a live stream. If somebody else wants to set up a shop and sell all of my stuff and pretend it was from them, contact me. No, I'm just
I'll be
joking.
your marketer for your stuff. We'll sell all your stuff on Etsy. And we'll just pretend there's a lot more meaning in it than there is. We'll like come up with these like nice uh little poetic quotes underneath that just like really show how much feeling and emotion went into them. And we'll make a
I
lot
made
of
this
people
horrific thing in a
panic.
dream.
Yeah.
We'll make a lot of. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, but I also have ADHD, so it's like sometimes a little hard not to like be like, "Blah."
Oh, you don't need to apologize about that at all. I also have ADHD, and I also interrupt I don't know if it's a lot now, but my mom used to get very mad at me for how often I would interrupt her or my siblings or whatever, because I'm just like not thinking. I'm just like, the thought needs to come out of my mouth right now. I thought it. Here it is. ADHD.
uh,
So Edward is saying that they believe that people are more conscious of their first and third functions because they're in line with the extroversion or introversion. So extroverts would be more aware, for example, for me, NETE, and introverts would be more aware of the introverted functions. So, like for you, NITI. What do you think about that statement?
I don't know. I mean, like NI is already kind of a squirrely one for me. I'm like, I get what it is because like I think NI plus TI are just constantly trying to narrow things down and like move forward.
Hmm.
I would assume. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, yes. I don't know. I guess like wait, let me read this again. I believe that people are more conscious of their first and third functions because they are in line with the extroversion or introversion. What do you think of this? I have no reason to disagree. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to say. I think it's an interesting question or like an interesting thought, but yeah, I haven't really spent that much time thinking about it.
Are there seriously? I don't know if that's to us, but are there seriously? I don't know, but
There
maybe.
might be. Yes.
We're in line right there. I liked that. Michael is saying that he was thinking he was an INTJ, but then when confronted with my memory, which is almost letter perfect, I had to retype. Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I don't think that INTJs have terrible memory, so I don't know if that's necessarily the best um, indicator. But if you believe that you have stronger introverted sensing than an INTJ, that's awesome.
Hmm. I guess is that because of based on like okay, so you got SE inferior, and then that would leave SI demon like way down in the stack, like
Right.
all the way down there, and a lot of people associate like memory with
Yeah.
SI or like a certain type of memory.
Right.
Maybe that's
Yeah.
why.
Though INTPs do tend to be a little bit like encyclopedias. When you ask them about something that they've studied, they will tell you all the information. INTJs are not going to tell you everything. They're going to tell you a little bit more about how they feel about the information that they're portraying to you. They're going to say it very like matter of fact, but it's also like kind of infused with how they feel about it. It's I
Hmm.
think it's fascinating. I think the difference between INTJ and INTP is so fascinating.
Yeah, and I feel like INTJs might be more big picture thinkers. Maybe I'm wrong. If you guys are out there and you wanna you wanna duke it out, I'm just joking. You wanna correct me? Feel free. I'm open to being corrected.
When you mistype one thing, you may have mistyped the other. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's very easy to mistype things, especially with the different kinds of descriptions that are out there. And some of them are kind of like contradictory to each other. And then again, there's also like a lot of stereotypes out there, like you just mentioned, like the association with SI and memory, which um, is like I can see why that connection is there, but I don't know if that's more reality so much as it is just a common trait with people who favor SI. Um, I like objective personality system because they kind of give you masculine and feminine SI. So the feminine SI actually has pretty bad memory recall, and they're very wishy-washy about that kind of stuff. So it is, I that's kind of one of the reasons why I actually really like objective personality. Um, so as an ISTP and being self-preservation's need, or no, he means SP. Um, As an ISTP and being that SPs need freedom to make decisions, how important is freedom for you?
It's pretty high up there on the list of priorities in life. It's it's weird. You know, having like good intentions about things, and I was talking to a friend recently about this. I want to do the right thing. I often want to be doing the right thing, or I want to do the best that I can. But I think once there is the control exerted over me that I have to do the right thing, or I have to do, the best that I can, it is like the biggest drain on me,
Mm,
because suddenly I feel like I'm not valued and I'm not trusted in a way to fulfill those obligations that I know are there. I am going to put the most pressure on myself. I don't
right.
need other people to put pressure on me. I want them to trust me to do my own thing. Being independent gives me room to go away, think about how I'm going to do it, then come back and actually do it. But if you put pressure on me, or you try to control me, or you got me under your thumb, that's like, I'm under your thumb. Guess what? I'm gonna slip out and I'm never gonna come back. Like, that is it. I'm gone. Like, see ya.
How to scare off an ISTP 101. Try to tell them and force them to do what you want them to do and give them
Right.
no
Just
other option.
right. If you say I need help and you clearly need help, and it's not just that you're lazy. If you need help with something, right? And you're not just being a jerk or trying to take advantage, guess who's gonna show up? Like, it's going to be people that actually care about you. It's going to be people that want to do the right thing without being controlled into it. Don't manipulate people into doing things. It's not cool. Don't control them into doing things. Assume that if they want to do it, if they have control over their own lives, if they are a sentient human that is like able to live independently, then give them the choice. Because the second you start exerting control or pressure over that person, you are you're putting them in a position where they have to sacrifice their own happiness to help you, whereas they might choose to willingly do that to help you. If you make them do it, you're forcing it out of them, and that causes resentment.
Yes, exactly. Resentment. That's like the best word for that. And like what you're saying, I just like hear it also like from a workplace perspective. This is like such a common thing in a workplace perspective where the expected thing is expected of you. And if you do anything else, like, oh my God. And a lot of workplaces think that if they're tighter on the rules, people will stick to them more because you've got more steep consequences for not doing the right thing. But I think ISTPs are proof that if you do that, you're going to get kind of like a rubber band effect where they're like, oh, you want to control me? I'll show you just how little control you have over me.
Oh god.
I have a friend who's an ISTP, and he was doing that at the end of his last job up until like when he actually got to quit. He was like pushing it further and further every day, like how much he could get away with without getting caught. Like,
My lips are sealed. I want to keep my current job. I'm good. But yes, I can see that. Mhm.
Well, I would argue that SI also does a lot of plans for their lives as well. SIs are probably the ones who plan their lives the most because they come up with a solution and they stick to it and they create a piecewise plan to get to that, and they will never change their end goal. They will just like do all these things to get to the end goal. I think that's actually a misconception about SI. SI, I think, are some of the most planned people of all people. And actually, I find that NI tends to plan in the ether world but never actually like do the plans, so they're constantly planning and constantly changing their plans, whereas SI They actually plan things pretty well, I think. That's just from my experience, so I could be wrong about that, but that
Yeah,
is.
no, I think you're right. And also, SI just seems like it's very focused on details as well,
Mm,
right? Whereas NI is like much more like the scope, like knowing the direction that you need to go or knowing the general idea about what is true. Like it's so general and it's vague. I mean, it can be specific about specific things, right? But it's more like you come across, well, for me at least, I come across an opportunity and then I'm like, oh, this could actually help me in this way, right? Like I could see it, like I could project into the future where this could go, and it aligns with where I might want to go. Like I have no long-term plans in my life. I genuinely just, I'm like, the future isn't real unless I can realistically see a thing that could happen in the future. Then it
mm,
starts floating around in my NI, like, oh, it's up there. It's getting closer. The more realistic it becomes, like the more
ah,
realistic possibilities, the closer physically it seems to come. I don't know,
mm.
but that's how I visualize it. But yeah, SI seems like it's much more focused on details about things because it's like it's looking back, it's looking at previous things to check and balance against. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think your introverted functions are more analytical in nature. So, introverted sensing, introverted intuition, introverted feeling, and introverted thinking, they are just more analytical in general. So, SI is looking at those past experiences and the information and trying to analyze that with either FIS or TI. And then NI is kind of doing that, but looking more forward instead of backwards. So they're doing a lot of the same things, just slightly. And I think that's some of the confusion between NI and SI. This didn't really intend to be a conversation about NI SI, but it has somewhat opened up into one because I really like this conversation, and I think there are some misconceptions about. And I think that's why a lot of people mistype as intuitives instead of sensors because of some misconceptions about how the cognitive functions work. Yeah, Ruel is saying that you do seem pretty INFJ, and can see how that confusion could happen.
Hmm.
Um, as you feel your type is most likely ISTP, have you found that you actually engage in a lot of ISTP like activities?
As you feel your type is most likely STP, have you found that you actually engage in, well, like I already knew that I engaged in a lot of like SE activities, if that's a thing. I don't know if they're like stereotypically ISTP things because, you know, they could be ESTP things. They could be things that I think pretty much anybody can do anything. It's just whether or not it's like something that feels like innately maybe more easy for them or something. I don't know. Um, I have a pretty high aptitude for things like pattern visualization and for spatial awareness as well. So maybe that's related to SE. I'm not sure. I would assume that if there are ISTP like activities, they would be SE based or something like that, right? I used to do kickboxing. I did that for a long time. I'm not very good at dancing. I don't know. I don't know if that's like a thing that I should be good at just because I supposedly should be able to handle that kind of thing. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I used to ride motorcycles. I could list a whole bunch of stuff that sounds stereotypically like potentially ISTP, and crafting and stuff like, you know, having tools on the wall in my small apartment where my bed is right next to me, right? Like it's just a crafter's den. That could be something that you say is an ISTP, but I could very easily be another type and still do all of those things. So I'm not sure.
I like to use the analogy that, 20 people can eat an apple, but the reason why they eat the apple is different. And that is what MBTI is looking at, is the reason behind the action, not the action itself. Because there's a lot of similar actions that anyone can do. Anyone can give emotional support and not necessarily be FE. Anyone can think something through and not necessarily be TI. Like, it's not the outcome, it's the process by which you get to the outcome that really matters. Um,
Right.
But I think it is good to talk about if there are the stereotypes, because I will admit I don't do any of the stereotypical ISTP activities. Like I don't do sports. I don't really do anything that's like physically active in any sort of way. Like I just don't. Never have. Always been bad at that stuff. Like, but is that a stereotype or is that just me being lazy? Like just being a lazy person, having nothing to do with my cognitive functions and everything to do with just my lack of initiative into the physical world. um okay, sorry, I'm trying to look through some of the there we go. um okay, he's kind of just going through the different things. ISTPs mostly type as INTJs. I would agree. I think it might be more gender based than that. Though I've also seen males who are ISTPs who tested as INFJs. I have seen that quite a bit, actually. But maybe males are more likely to test as INTJs and females are more likely to test as INFJs. I think females in general are more likely to test as a feeler, just because society kind of, like you were saying earlier, you're not sure how much of like your desire to be more sociable is actually related to gender or being an ISTP or like any of those factors. And I
Yeah.
think that's a really important point. Like things are pretty complicated and not everything can be reduced to a cognitive function being the source of the reason for why something's happening.
Mhm.
Did you want to say something? I heard you start to say and I was talking. I'm sorry.
No, no, not at all. Like I was basically just agreeing with you, and then I think whatever I was thinking, you started to like say the same thing. So I was just like, yes,
Okay.
I beamed it into your brain, or I read your mind. And then
I'm going to say you have gone into my brain and gave me those thoughts. I'm going to go with that. The ISTP power. No.
oh god,
So I have
out.
heard I have heard that when ISTPs can get over FE inferior and transition into ENFJ subconscious, they can be good at mentoring people. Have you ever thought about taking on an apprentice?
Yes. Wow. I did not expect anybody to ask something like that. That's interesting. Okay, so yeah, but I don't think I'm ready yet. Having said that, when are you ever ready for something, right? You're only ready because you face it, you realize where you need to correct, and then you correct it. Or at least that's how I work. I make a mistake, and then I'm like, well, now I know what to not do. Um, so yes, I've thought about that. I've also thought about that in the context of like being like a big sister, not necessarily to my siblings. They're all grown up now or adopting even. So just some ability to pass on what I've learned and how to get over some of the hurdles that I've faced. If I met a younger person and was able to like impart some of that to them to help ease their journey or to at least listen with a knowing and welcoming ear, like that would be something that I would be interested in doing. But I think I still have a lot of work to do on myself before I would feel confident or comfortable to try to impart that to somebody else. Like until I feel like I've really figured shit out, I don't want to be like influencing somebody in the wrong way.
Hmm. That's fascinating. So is that something, you think about pretty frequently about having an apprentice? How often have you thought about that kind of thing?
Not very frequently, but the times that I've thought about it in depth.
Mm.
So it's just like a couple of those like it's like one of those things that just pops up every now and then where it's just like, wow, I should probably think about what I want to do with all of this stuff that I have been doing. Like I can't just
Mm.
learn, like I'm not just thinking about apprentice like helping somebody with their type or helping somebody with like life growth in general, like a young person. I'm thinking about also just all the skills that I've learned. Like I have learned how to do a lot of things, and in some ways I'm kind of a jack of some trades, a jack of many trades, not all trades. Um, and I've gotten fairly good at doing those things, but also, what am I doing with that? Like, what am I going to do with that? Am I going to become a teacher? Maybe I should.
Hmm. That's
And
really
whether
cool.
it's like with one person or not, I don't know.
Yeah. That's really cool. And I think, there is a lot of value in passing on that knowledge that you have. And I hope that you're able to do that because you have a unique set of skills that other people don't have. And so someone's going to benefit a lot from what you have to offer. So I hope that
I
happens.
just imagined Liam Neeson in my head for a second. I have a what is it like? I can't even. I butcher quotes from movies, so I'm not even gonna try.
I'm going to
You guys did.
find you something, something, something,
Yeah, all right.
something.
Very
I'm on a
particular set
plane.
of skills or something. Oh my god.
There's a
Yeah,
phone and
good.
there's Liam Neeson and he's being
Yeah.
intense. That is what's going on. Uh, a skill is just another tool in the box. Once you've mastered it, you can find the next spark that lights your fire. I love that. That's a beautiful quote. I really like that a lot.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. That's why I asked the artist question. You once told me that you don't consider yourself an artist and it's more of a craft. I suspected that's not your NF because self P expression is life.
Oh, I guess yeah, like self-expression's life. Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'm adding the P. That's just a mistype. Okay. I was
It
like,
might
is this
be.
a self-preservation comment? Because I don't understand.
I don't know. I'm gonna guess that it's just like a typo, like because I
Yeah.
do that all the time. I add on all kinds of extra letters, and I'm like, I didn't mean that entire extra sentence that I said. Just forget that. It was a typo.
Just
Um,
forget the whole paragraph I just put out there. Completely a typo.
darn autocorrect. I meant to say okay.
Exactly. Ooh, that's a good actually way of putting it. SI has a lot to do with the maintenance of the information. That's a very good way of
Oh,
putting it. Actually, I've never heard anyone say it like that, and I really like that actually.
hmm.
So this one is asking, how do you experience your ENFJ subconscious?
It's pretty subconscious to me, so I'm not really sure exactly how I experience it. Uh, I don't know. I guess when I'm being playful, maybe like when I feel really comfortable, but because it's subconscious, I don't know. Honestly,
Hmm.
you tell me. I think other people would be a better judge of that, probably.
I think that little conversation you were saying about like how you've been thinking about what you're actually going to do with the knowledge that you have, like what value is that going to bring? I feel like that's almost like the subconscious ENFJ coming out in you. Like, okay, now I've explored and I've learned this information. Now, what am I going to do with it? So you are kind of activating that subconscious part of you that's like, you need to do something a little bit more than just learn it. There needs to be another reason behind it. And that's sort of like the subconscious guiding you a little bit. Maybe.
Hmm.
That's a thought.
Yeah. Hey, I'll buy it. Like that sounds about right to me. I have no reason to contest it. That sounds really interesting. I hope that's what's happening because that sounds really cool.
How competitive are you as an ISTP?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I will intentionally like not do certain things because I get so frustrated that other people are not necessarily taking it as serious as I am. Even games. I'm like, okay, I'll only play Monopoly if I'm allowed to cheat. Because I can't enjoy the game otherwise because you guys are not going to go fast. You're going to be like you're going to screw it up. Like this was playing with my brother and sister and they were so sweet and they were so patient. Like they were incredibly patient with me. But I was just like, look, I can't play this game. And they're like, we need a third player. It's boring with the two of us. I'm like, okay, but I get to cheat. They're like, what the hell are you talking about? Um, yeah, I just liked being the bank robber. So I would be the bank teller. I would dish out the
Mm,
money, but I would also like steal the money, but very obviously. And then I'd be
mm.
like, here's hush money for like not telling dad, etc. So yeah, but yeah, I'm
That's
very
funny.
competitive. Very.
Has that been a recurring theme like all of your life that you've been really competitive, like even like elementary school, kindergarten, first, second grade?
Yes, but there are a couple of things that diffuse that like competitive nature like this, just like it's gone. And quite often it's like if I see somebody who is really struggling, but they're on my team, and I'm like, that person is not able to do this thing. They're trying their best, but they're not able to do it. And it's like, I guess that's like that FE thing. I don't know. That FE thing, whatever that is. Um, but it's like just, it's almost like don't leave them behind. And yeah, that kills the competitive drive, and like
Mm.
it makes me want to protect them or help them or something like that. So yeah.
So you are competitive up until you see someone. So if it was on the other team and they just weren't getting it, would you feel the same kind of feelings?
No, like field hockey, played field hockey a lot through school. It was like my way to get aggression out.
Hmm.
Or like nervous energy, like if I was feeling like pent up because I had to go to school, I had to go to school. I couldn't just do all of my book learning like I normally did because that's what I did anyway. Even though I went to classes, I wasn't paying attention. And if I needed to get that aggression out, I would go and play hockey, like field hockey. And when we would have games against other schools or, other teams or whatever, if we split up the teams, I didn't feel any compassion at all because it wasn't, it was like, I guess if you're on the same team and there's somebody who's lagging behind but they're trying their best, it's not because they aren't trying. Like if they're not trying, then screw them, bench them, who cares? They're gone. Like they don't even exist in my mind anymore because we're playing a game and we're here to win, right?
Hmm.
But if somebody is trying their best but they're still not getting it, they need somebody to help them. And that's the focus. That's when it can turn off my mind from like we need to win to winning is actually helping everybody on our team be okay.
Hmm.
That's the win that we need today, is to make sure that everybody is okay. um yeah, I don't know, but the other team, like, screw them. Like, I don't know.
Well, it makes a lot of sense because if it's the other team, like you can stay in that competitive mindset and you don't ever have to switch out of it. Because if they're failing, that's more of you winning. So you're fine with it because unless like the whole team is what if the whole team was really bad and you won and it was just like a complete demolishment, would
Yeah, that
you?
would suck.
Yeah, it would be not as rewarding because you
Yeah,
beat someone who didn't have the same skill level or something.
right, yeah, it would feel unfair. Like it wouldn't feel like a win or a victory because
Mhm.
that's it's not a fair competition. I don't
Mhm.
know.
That's interesting because, like, all of what you're saying is very different from how I view competition. Um, Competition for me is most purely how can I make myself the best I can be? So I want to be the best because I want to be performing the best I possibly can be. But I actually personally like second place best because it's a really frustrating position to be in where someone is better than you. And so you're not the best. So you have something to strive for, but you're still better than everyone else, so you can like feel pretty good about like your own success. So
Huh.
it's like I am competitive only in so much that it proves my worth in a way.
Oh wow. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really care about winning. I care about winning, but it's not about being the victor. It's
Mhm.
like I think it's just I like the feeling while it's happening. Like
Mm.
I like being in the middle of it. Like I like the doing of it,
Mm.
and then like after a while I'm just like, "Oh, did we win?" Like, okay. That's not it's the competitiveness of being in the action of it.
Mm.
So yeah, like the aftermath. Like I think somebody asked me, I can't remember where this was, but we were having a conversation about this with some people recently, and they were like, "How do you know when you've succeeded?" It might have been in one of the Wise Talkers in the LoveWho server, but like I don't know. I don't know when I've succeeded. Like I know that sounds weird probably, but like I don't know. I don't know when I've done the thing that I need to be doing. I just know that I should be doing a thing. And
Mm.
like once that thing's done, well, there's always another thing that needs to be done. It's not about a list of things. It's like a feeling of momentum. I always want to be moving forward. So that competition is just like an accelerated version of moving forward.
Mm. Mm. So there, oh, that's interesting. That's really fascinating. Oh man, I'm like trying to think.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's very different from me, but that's really fascinating. And that I wonder if that's like a common thing amongst ISTPs, both of what you said, like both the um, never really feeling like anything is done, um, but also the enjoyment of the momentum. I would say I like momentum too, but in a more I would just never call it momentum, but I guess you could in a way call it momentum, which is like when I have an epiphany of an idea that's going to fix or solve something really exciting that I have been frustrated with a problem, and I get some kind of like amazing solution, like that feels like momentum to me, but there's not really like a competitive edge there. Like if we can all work together and get to it, then that is fantastic as well. Like I don't really want anyone to lose per se. Um, but I do like being the best. I don't know. There's like maybe that's just like all people, we kind of like being the best to some degree. Or maybe it's like an ego thing, who knows. Also, thank you, Dio. That's so sweet. I wish I could
Aw.
see the sticker in here. I'll have to look on the video later to see what the sticker is actually doing.
Yay.
Um, what if you explain to an ISTP logically what is good, and for them as well, but do not exert pressure on them? Would they change over time towards that perspective?
Over time, I don't know. Maybe immediately. I don't know. Uh, I feel like over time is expecting them to remember what was expected before. I don't know how good other people's memories are. I know that mine is not very good. So I need that hammered home every day. Or not, because that would be my preference, is don't do that to me every day.
Mm. Mhm.
Yeah, but I think if you explain to an ISTP logically what is good for them as well, to do that, I don't know. I don't know. I guess there has to be a reason, right? It does just being logically what's good for me or whatever, or for them as well. I don't know. There has to be a good reason to incorporate it, because whatever I've decided to do, I probably came to that conclusion because it works for me or it makes sense to me in some way. So there has to be a good enough reason to change that, or it has to be like logically sound in some way that provides an additional benefit. Like, there has to be a reason, and if there's no reason to change, then why do it?
Mhm.
That sounds really probably quite horrible, but yeah, I don't know. I guess it would depend. It would depend on what it is.
Yeah, that was my thought looking at this, as this would be a very it depends kind of situation because it depends on so many circumstances. Like, is this logically what is good, what is better than a different outcome, or just in general what is good? Like, is this a specific thing where they have feelings about it? Because I'm sure even if you have really strong feelings about it, you might not be as willing to change your. That's a good question actually that I'm now thinking of. How much do emotions kind of affect how open you are to new arguments or new points of view?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay. All right. Oh no, because yeah, because you said like that's a good question actually. Like, how did I was like, oh yeah, that is a good question. Right.
yeah.
Oh, you actually okay? I got you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'm actually asking him.
Jeez Louise. Um, I think like from who? Like the emotions of the other person
The
or
emotions
my
of you.
emotions?
Hmm.
I don't know. I feel like quite often I don't even know how I feel about a thing.
Mm.
Like, I don't really know what it is that I'm feeling about it. I know whether or not it aligns with, like, what I think is the right thing to do or, like, my principles. Like, my
Mm.
principles are a major guide in how I make a decision. Like,
Mm.
beyond whether or not something makes sense, then it's like, well, am I breaking some principle here? Like, like, I might not like this thing that needs to happen, but I have to do it because it's the thing that makes sense to do in this situation, whether or not I
Mm.
like it. It doesn't matter
Mm.
whether I like it. Because ultimately it's the right thing to do. Like ultimately that is going to be the best solution, even if it's at a cost to my personal preference. But if it's like against a principle that I have, like don't treat other people like dirt, don't like step on them while they're down or kick them while they're down. Like it doesn't matter whether the sensible thing to do would be to kick them while they're down. I'm not going to do it. Like that's messed up. And yeah, stuff like that. It's kind of like it's all these little TI like, oh, can I do that? No, I don't know. That's like a check and balance, and now I've hit this thing, and I can't do that either because that's going to conflict with this other thing. Sometimes it's as simple as just no, and then just saying no. But people want more. They want a reason, and yeah, sometimes you just have to be like, I just can't. Like, I'm sorry, and like go away, and then think about how you could have like had a better conversation with that human being, and explained it in a way that would make them feel more at ease. It's not always easy though.
No, it's not. And something that you said, I've noticed with a lot of people who have TI in the top two cognitive functions is that they have principles that drive their behavior, and what they do has to be in line with those principles. Like I knew an ENTP once, and we were kind of like going over his principles, and I'm sitting here like trying to question him, and he's like, no, 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 I have the answers to these already. I've thought through all these principles already. They are foolproof. And I'm like, but no, they're not, because what about this one situation? He's like, no, you stick to it because it's the right thing to do. And I'm like, but what if it's not the right thing to do? Oh my gosh, it
Oh
was fun.
man.
I just noticed that's a really common thing is principles rather than values with TI. Um, how do you see yourself using SE and FE?
Uh, I guess SE is like that momentum that I was talking about before. I mean, SE, I don't know. For some reason I'm like, isn't it obvious? And then it's like, wait, that's okay. You can't do that. Just like everything around me. I guess SE would be the fact that I find it really difficult not to be in the moment. Like when I'm really, really tired is when I see SE kind of like fade a little bit almost. I almost notice more when I'm not using SE because of the fact that it's like, oh, this is a relaxing change. Like my TI is still like just constantly like I can't shut off my thoughts, but at least now I'm like daydreaming instead, or I'm like deep in contemplation, or like I'm imagining how these things are going to go together and make this project come to life. And in those moments it's like, oh, I'm not registering everything around me. It's so hard for me to be like to zone out all the extraneous like external world. I'm like really sensitive to sound. So, living on a busy main road, hearing traffic, hearing people shouting outside, the bars across the street, like the freeways like right across the street, all of that is just constantly stressing me out because I can't
Mhm.
get it out. And I think some people, they're like, you got to be mindful, man. You got to be like in the moment. I'm like, I don't want to be in the moment. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just want to like daydream and like just zone out for a little bit. And it's really hard to find a flow state that is out of the moment because I think that's a possible thing. It's just hard to get there. So SE is pretty much everything outside of like my main operating system, which is just rules all, I guess. And then FE is like an afterthought, unfortunately, and I wish that it wasn't. It's something that I spend a lot of time worrying about. I spend a lot of time working on. I feel very responsible for. Like FE is really important to me, but it's like also the thing that I struggle with the most.
Mhm.
I think, at least.
Yeah, couple of thoughts. First of all, I'm sorry that you struggle with it, but yet feel so responsible for it. That must be really stressful actually, because, you know, maybe you like accidentally offend somebody and you were just trying to be like honest and open with them, and they got offended by it, or maybe you were trying to make a joke and the joke didn't land how you intended, and that can be probably stressful, it sounds like, especially like if we take into Enneagram into account with that, right? Because your Enneagram, you said, was a 6, right? Which is all about security. Um, and if somebody doesn't like a joke that you gave, then your relationship is not as secure with them, especially if it's someone that you're close to. Is that something that it seems like I'm hitting a chord there? I'm sorry.
If you weren't, then I question whether I'm a 6, right? That's the whole point, is that it's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And very well said too. Like I think like I couldn't imagine a better example too. Like the whole joking and not necessarily landing. Although I often make jokes to break patterns of behavior, like negative behavior. Like on I don't do like I found out recently that that's what I'm doing.
Mm.
I hadn't realized that that was the thing that I was doing, but I was speaking to like Joyce Meng, um, and she was like, "Oh, that's a thing that you do. Like that's a way to like break patterns of behavior, and you're just doing it naturally." And I was like, "Oh, well, sugar. Like, okay, I'll just make stupid jokes, and I don't mind if it comes back on me. I don't mind if people that I don't know very well see me as being foolish because I don't care about that hit to me. It doesn't matter. Like their opinion of me doesn't matter.
Mm.
It's when it's people that I care about. Like if they change their opinion of me, if they no longer trust that I'm doing things for the right reasons, it's like, whoa, you don't trust me? Like I'm trying my best to do this thing. I thought that you understood where I was coming from, and now it didn't land. And it's like, oh gosh, like there's this weird feeling of agitation and like uncertainty. And yeah. So I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you definitely did. You were just kind of uh, validating that I had correctly kind of summarized what you had said, like throughout the video, like these different little things that you had mentioned, kind of like putting them into one place, and just kind of elaborating on that a little bit further. So I think you absolutely did a really great job doing that. Thank you for sharing that. And
Yay.
I hope that people who are watching, who know that you are doing your best, and if you care about someone, you really do care about someone, it is going to just show in the way that you show it. And you know, something that I noticed about you right away, cuz I joined the server, the LoveWho server, and it was within a couple days you were like private messaging me, and you're being like really sweet and really caring and warm, and like I had no reason to question like INFJ. I was like, "Oh yeah, you're so sweet and caring and like lovely of a human being." So, I
Yeah.
definitely think that
Aw.
you're not bad at the FE. Maybe you just overstep it and are a little bit more hypercritical of yourself about that because you want to do well at it and you feel like it's important to do well.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
Lighthearted question. When did you start kickboxing?
This was a long time ago, and I I don't know if I should say how long ago because I would be giving away my age. So, yeah.
You could say a grade that you were in if you were in school still.
I think I was doing my A levels at the time. So I was in England at the time. I must
So
have been
you
like
were in high school, probably then.
I was maybe 18 to 19. So I think I did kickboxing on and off from like 18 to 19 and a half or something like that. So only like a year and a half or something like
Mm.
that. So it wasn't that long. I think I just heard the door.
Okay.
Pretty sure that that is the postman. Do you mind if I just quickly go and
Yeah,
I
please.
know I'm in a live stream, but like I hear the door and I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Good luck, you guys.
Now, quick, everyone, talk about her.
Oh no, I can still hear you.
Oh no! She caught us. All right, guys, I'm gonna try to catch up a little bit on these comments a little bit. Oh, we will come back to that. That's a question. We'll kind of go through some of these comments. Dario Nardi on gender from 2005's 8 Keys to Self-Leadership. A relationship was observed between gender, age, and how many and which processes are used. Oh, I thought more meant that was gonna expand. So there's a couple more questions. Uh, I will get to your guys' questions. We might have to stop at a certain point because there are quite a few, but I'll also say hi to some people who came in. Hello, hello. You're
Hola.
in LoveWho server. All right, let's go back up to these questions. Um, where did it go? Given that you have changed your type categorization from INFJ to ISTP, I think you put INFP because I don't know, it should be INFJ, have also changed with the Kiersey temperament that you relate to.
Kiersey?
Those temperaments, I'm trying to think, but there's like ST, NF, NT, SJ temperaments. No, SP, ST, no, SP, SJ, NT, NF temperaments, basically. So you would change from an NF temperament to an
Mhm.
SP temperament. Okay, that's
Right.
okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I understand that because the categorization would be different, but I'm not really sure what the temperaments are supposed to be like, so I'm not really sure. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I think he just retyped it with the spelling. Okay. Okay. There's just a few comments. I'm just gonna click through them until I get to people see how does SE represent the world. I think SE is just more how you observe the world than how you. Hello, welcome. I don't know if you're still here by the time you see this, but if you're not, then I will just message you on Instagram and say thank you for coming by. Aw, Susie, that's so nice.
I'll send you the
Susie,
money for saying that later. I'm just joking.
Susie is also a very talented artist. You guys should check out her Instagram. She posts a lot of speed paints. They're very unique, and I love her use of color, and they're just fantastic. She has quite a few portraits of Nathan, so if you guys like Nathan, you'll definitely enjoy her portraiture. um, what do you struggle with most in general?
Hmm. Uh, my memory, I guess. I don't know. I really suck at remembering to do things, or like, sometimes if it's not like immediately about to happen, I'm like, that's not a thing yet. Like, that doesn't exist in
Mm,
reality yet, so let's not worry about it. So yeah, probably that, and also just maybe I could be like a little bit critical of people, or like a little bit paranoid about where people are coming from sometimes. So I'll
mm,
misinterpret new interactions where people might say something and I'll read into it, maybe not always in the friendliest way. So,
mm.
it's not a nice thing to admit, but it's an honest thing.
No, I think it's good to be able to admit that you're doing that so that you can recognize when it's happening in yourself. Because if you don't admit the things that are happening, um, even if they're not like ideal behaviors, like we all have these toxic behaviors or like less ideal behaviors. I'm not saying that that's toxic, and that's not the leap I'm trying to say. I'm just saying in general,
Can't
we
believe
have.
you.
No, there's just like I've noticed I say things sometimes like as a reaction. My mind has made a couple of leaps in logic while I was thinking, but my outcome makes this like sort of leap in assumption, and I accidentally imply things with what I say that I'm not necessarily implying.
Nah, you're
So worried about that. I care about winning, but I don't care about winning. I get it. Yeah,
fine.
I was feeling a little the same. I
Oh
get it.
my
I get it.
god. Oh my god.
Joker Crow says that they are an INFJ and that they don't care about winning. Oh, it's more about making sure everyone is happy.
Aw.
Oh. I have noticed that FJs in general they can be competitive, but do tend to have more of a focus on the outcome of emotion than anything else. Um, Making the person watch the game instead of play the game is an option too. good point. I think winning isn't as enjoyable as not losing. The feeling after you lose is crummy, and you feel worse knowing that your opponent feels better. So it's like you'd rather not lose than win. Uh,
Hmm.
I wonder if that's how, Edward, is that how you feel? Um, Ava says some people describe tertiary TE as status seeking. Oh, interesting. I've never heard that, but I believe it. uh, Natural engines, but terrible at route planning. There you go. The engine will turn on, but it needs to be directed somewhere.
We're just gonna go off a cliff unless somebody's like, "Oh no, you got to turn right." Like,
Oh. TI is so cautious with its logic. Oh, that's so sweet. Ava's an ENTJ, so she's just wooing over your TI.
aw.
Um, what is your reason behind participating in so many activities?
I don't know how many. I don't know. Do I participate in a lot of activities? Because I don't know what the average amount of activities would be for a human. I guess I'm not sure.
See, that is a good question to ask because I don't know what there is either, and I would say I fluctuate, so I don't even know if I could answer that question, to be honest. Um,
Not a bad question. Just I always need more information before I can be like, yes, here is your calculated answer.
exactly. Rev is finding it interesting that you struggle with it yet feel so responsible. Um, just as a side note, I think that's the case for anyone who has FE in their conscious stack, whether it's fourth or whether it's first. There's a responsibility for that that introverted feelers don't necessarily have. We feel responsibility for making sure our logic matches with other people's logic and that our logic is reasonable and other people can make sense of it. That is what we feel responsible for, like being able to explain ourselves in a way that can be understood, because we understand feelings are subjective. And so if somebody gets upset, we're like, oh, it could be a bajillion reasons. Now, like like someone who has lower self-esteem, or maybe in a more turbulent state, or maybe just like feeling a little bit more self-conscious, as an FI user, they might feel responsible for the FE, but that would be because of their feelings, not necessarily anything else, I think. But do you have anything you want to say about that statement? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's interesting too. I guess it's more annoying. But yeah, I think that's. I hadn't heard like that FITE explained that way. Like FI, because of the fact that you know that feelings are subjective, it hadn't really occurred to me like that you're focused more on like whether or not the logic makes sense to other people. Like
Mhm.
that's I just learned something new. So thank you.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's especially pronounced in ENFPs because we don't really have that grade of TI. So we feel a little like extra need to make sure that other people can make sense of our logic because we don't necessarily, we haven't really thought it through. So we figure out our logic by throwing it out onto other people and trying to make sure other people get it.
Nice.
uh, Suzanne, definitely share your handle. I will put it in the description of the video as well. Suzanne needs more people checking out her artwork.
Yes.
Little simp exposed. No, you just have a couple. Just a couple. No, just
Unless
kidding.
she might be referring to both of us, honestly, because I will simp hardcore for Susie.
Aw.
Yeah.
The simping is every direction.
I was trying to like come up with like a witty thing, but all I could think about was like just simp arrows shooting out in all directions. That's me trying my best to NE and it's just not working.
Hey, we all simp for people. We can't help it. Everyone simps for somebody. Just, it's fine. There's not a problem with simping unless it takes over your life. That's my opinion.
Simp life. Hashtag
Maybe
simp
this
life.
maybe this is because I'm a simp, so there are people that I simp for, so I can't help it. It's hard not to. Oh, my camera's getting ready to die. I see the little blinking arrow. Um, Can you guys compare your NE usage with Joy's SE usage?
I read that as sausage at the end. Anyway, yeah.
Her name's not Joy, it's Jennifer. Sorry, guys, I've been lying all day. So I think that it's kind of hard to. It's like comparing my TI usage to her FI usage. I don't know. It's just kind of like a hard thing to compare because they're not really like the same thing. And they're in a different place within the cognitive stack. So there's like a whole bunch of different reasons why they're going to um, be different. But if you have anything that you think you've noticed since we started talking, I would love to hear.
I don't know. I mean, I just see Annie as being super creative, and SE is just being like super concrete.
Hmm.
And I couldn't say between the two of us, like, I don't know what I would identify from like this conversation, at least, like where you've been particularly like Annie. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
I also consciously attempt to rein it in a little bit because it has a propensity of like taking over.
Oh man, let it free.
If I let it free, nothing ever stays on topic and it's real bad. Um, uh,
Fun. That's fun for me though, because it's like all over the place, and that's like a new. I have to improvise. That's why I like being around people that have like any, because it's like, oh shoot, I did not expect that. Oh, this is cool.
We definitely can take leaps. Yeah, it's hard for me to explain any as well. I think it's just harder to talk about your main way of being in main way of like processing information. It's hard to like describe it because it's always doing stuff and it's very hard to like because you're more, at least for me, I'm more aware of my FI and TE and how they manifest, and especially my SI. Like I'm very aware of how that gets holds me back. Um, but the any, I really only notice it in retrospect when I've let it out a little too much, and people are like, "I don't understand what you're going for. I don't understand what you're saying," or "This just took a really weird turn, and I don't like where this is going." Like stuff like that is really the only times I'm very aware of it.
I like how one of the examples was like, this just got out of hand. Just, aw. Oh
Yeah.
man.
It uh it you know, ENFPs have the ability to be a little bit of like the devil's advocate just as much as ENTPs. So we can like push things a little bit further because we're like, oh, what if? What if this? Oh yes, like this could be it.
Oh god.
And we like almost assume that position for a moment just to explore it. Oh, well, thanks for being here and enjoying our conversation. Laura is appreciating the simp life. Yes. What is the difference between INFJs feeling responsible for FE versus ISTPs?
Um, I think ICPs are all about themselves and like where they've messed up, right? They're like we're selfish. We're pretty selfish people. I think I'm the selfish person. That's what I should say. I'm very selfish, and I'm always worried about how I come across and like, what I've done wrong or where I might have messed up. And like when I'm approaching it from a much more healthy standpoint and it's coming out in like a good situation or in a better way, a healthier way, how I see as a healthy way would be those situations like I described for playing field hockey and caring about the member of the team that wasn't like maybe keeping up or something, because I'd be worried about how they'd feel, right? That is the best case scenario for me, of like extending instead of worrying about how I've messed up. Whereas I feel like I guess an INFJ might be more focused on making more decisions in life in general, or like in their day-to-day activities or whatever, just everything about like what they're doing, their Effie is serving it. It's kind of guiding, or is the compass to kind of say like, hey, you know, is this going to like mess with other people's values? Is this going to like affect other people's values? Whereas for me, it's like an afterthought, and then it's like, oh God, I gotta patch it up. Like, I've already made the mistake. Now I realize the mistake. I feel guilty. What if people hate me? Like, oh
Yeah.
no. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that concept of preemptive versus reactive is exactly the main difference. And that's also just like a J and P difference as well. P's are a little retroactive in that, in just general, we have to look back and realize where we make mistakes, and J's are a little bit more intentional about what they're doing. Um, and that would be the same for how they use FE if it's in their stack. Well, hello there. I'm sorry you didn't know until just now, but welcome and hello. It's always good to see you. And it's always fun to say hello there to hello there.
Wow. They just cut out the middleman. They have their greeting as their name. That's so cool.
How can you not just say hello there?
Hello there.
Oh, thank you, Ava. I really enjoy interviews. I used to do them a lot more on my channel and then kind of stopped for like a year. And so I'm trying to get back into it because I really like having these kinds of conversations. I feel like I learn a lot by having these conversations, even though I'm like, I've been doing this for so long and sometimes it feels really stale. Sometimes MBTI feels really stale because I feel like I figured it out. I don't need to figure anything else out. And these kind of conversations help remind me that it's like a consistent journey of constantly learning more to refine your understanding of it. Because sometimes I'd rather just, you know, it's good enough. Especially after like 10 years of being obsessed with something.
Wow, 10 years. 10 years at anything. I'd be like, wow, how did you do that? That's
Oh, it's
crazy.
just like anything. I mean, I'm sure there are things that you've done for 10 things. You just haven't really taken the time to realize it's actually been a decade. I've been
Right.
realizing more and more these things that I've been doing for a decade. It's probably an age thing because I'm getting closer to 30 than I am to 20. So I'm starting to think more in larger quantities of numbers, and I'm sure that only becomes more and more a thing as you get older. You start thinking about the perspective of how long it's actually been on things.
Mhm.
But it helps that I graduated in 2010, so it makes math for how long things have been so simple. How old was
Right.
I in 2010? And what was I doing in 2010? Okay, great. What about 2020? Well, that was just last year, so it makes a decade very easy.
Nice.
I don't know SE users liked NE users so much. I find myself gravitating towards SE users a lot and use up and end up wondering something along the lines of how are you so freaking cool?
Aw. Thank you. I'll Venmo you the
Oh
adequate
my
payment
god.
for that statement as well. I'm like
Pay you
racking
up.
up here. Yeah, right. Oh, that's really sweet. Yeah, like I like any users because of, like I said before, the ability to be so creative. Like I just feel like there is that. I mean, I'm not saying that they're the only people that can be creative, but I definitely see like there's something there that is just like pulling stuff together that I just never made those connections. I never saw that coming through. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is inspiring in some way, or it makes me want to move forward. It makes me want to like help make whatever it is that they've envisioned, like perhaps a reality, if it's something that's like possible in reality. One of my best friends, I would say probably, I don't know if like he's my best friend, but he's an ENFP. He's like one of the closest people in my life. And sometimes I'm like, yo, just because he can talk forever and I will never get to say anything. And I'm just like, just shut the hell up. I love you. Shut up for a second. We got to make this happen. Like, let's slow your roll. Like, stop there. I've got all the information I can possibly handle and then some. Let's make this happen. And maybe that's why. Maybe it's like, Maybe that's what we're supposed to do, is help each other. Like if we were thinking back to how people evolved, and maybe that's where these types of functions came into play, you know, if there are different people in the group that can do different things or focus on different things, and you have to have other people that can do the other things, right? So
Right.
working together, you know, you have a good team of people that are strong in different areas that can work together and make things happen.
Hmm. I really like SE users because they help bring me back to reality and help remind me, like, hey, maybe your idea is like not possible. Maybe you should think about these factors. Like, I work with an ESTP, and when we've worked on projects, or like when I would bring him a project idea, it's always been really helpful because he gives me feedback that other people won't give. There's something especially about SE and TI combined. Especially ESTPs and ISTPs, that they give really good critical feedback in a way that you can 100% take action on the feedback that they gave. And it's like, here's this thing that you didn't think about. Here's this other area where it's not going to work out. Like, you have to be realistic, and STPs really help bring that in a way that I think is really unique to that type. I really like ISTP feedback and ESTP feedback personally.
Oh, it takes the patience that you have to like not be like, oh, they were trying to attack me, because I feel like that's my concern all the time. I'm not trying to
Mm,
attack, not
yeah,
trying to pick it apart, although in a way I guess I am. I want to look at what's not going to work and tell you what
right.
is most likely to.
Yeah, and I think that that's a growth opportunity for NFPs in general, or just FPs, is to be open to feedback without it being like an attack on you. It's a discussion of the thing outside of you. And not it's not you. It's not you that's being criticized. And when you can see that and get the feedback from somebody who's looking at the thing from a very objective and analytical point of view, that is going to be some of the best feedback an NFP can get. Because STJs, they're going to be focused on, their experiences and what they think is going to be the most practical way of accomplishing the goal, not necessarily calling out where there are issues with the goal itself, or like where there are issues with the process itself. They're more like, hey, I got this process, let's do it. I'll help you fit what you need into my known world. So that can be valuable if they have something that you can really learn from them. But STPs are a lot more adaptable to whatever system you're bringing to them, and they will question the system itself in a way that STJs won't. Um, so I personally like STP feedback a little bit more. It just depends, I guess, what you're looking for. But yeah, I think STJ feedback. No, no, no. I'm not going to say which one's more stomachable because they both can be hard to take in sometimes as an NFP. No, I'm just like thinking about all the
No.
times that like STJs at work are just
Oh
like,
my
this
god.
is wrong. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I get you.
it's not palatable at all. Sometimes the feedback from an
No,
STJ.
no.
Sometimes the
Sometimes
least palatable.
I get scared. I'm like, "Please, no. Don't hurt
Kind of
me."
like the character we were watching last night when he was giving feedback to Rick. Oh
Oh,
no,
change battery pack,
it's
no.
okay. I'm just gonna switch to a different camera. So just a second, guys. Sorry about that.
I've gotta find some way to entertain you guys. I guess I'll just
There we
nope,
go.
okay, well, that was short-lived.
I knew it would happen soon. I was just hoping it would last the end. But when you see the blinking red battery bar for about half an hour, at a certain point, it's gonna have to give up. So
Hey, proud of that battery pack. It did its best and it lasted a long time.
yes, you done fought the good fight, camera. Um, I would love to see this a Joy and Jess crossover video. Jess is also an ISTP, so it'd be really interesting to kind of compare because I think you guys have different Enneagram types now. Just correct me, but I don't think you're a 6. I feel like you've told me at some point, and I just don't remember right now. Um, but that would be a really interesting conversation, I think, to see the kind of comparison between the two. And I don't think Jess ever typed as an INFJ either, so that might be an interesting thing to address as well. I wonder how much of Enneagram played into the fact that you typed as a feeler instead of a thinker.
Yeah, maybe. I think Enneagram is actually pretty strangely powerful and somehow something that I managed to ignore for a long time. And then I was like, a 6? Oof. Also, yeah, like, wow, it makes so much sense. And I think it does have like a huge impact on your outlook on life as well. So,
Yeah,
the way that you're using your functions and the way they present themselves in your daily life and your behaviors. Yeah.
exactly. If somebody disagrees with you, an ISTP is more likely to be like, yeah, I respect that person. They can have their own opinion, but I disagree. Um, Whereas an INFJ might take it a little bit more. INFJ might take it a little bit more personally if you disagree, but I don't know. Is it that, or is it the way that people treat INFJs when they uh, say something that someone else disagrees with?
Oh.
Because they just are gonna be more indirect, I think, about. But I've met some pretty like assertive INFJs who are
Mhm.
willing to like talk about their opinion. Especially male INFJs tend to be a little bit more assertive about that, which could just be like a gender difference again, because assertiveness is quite often directly linked to gender. There's a pretty big correlation to gender and assertiveness. That's an interesting thing to delve into. I'll have to meet some INFJs and have a group of them talk about this topic, because maybe ISTPs and INFJs, that would be like an interesting conversation between like a couple INFJs and a couple ISTPs. And we just like really break down their
Oh,
opinion.
snap.
That would be
If you do that,
fascinating.
can you bring me back? I would love to
Oh
be.
my god. Yes. Okay, now we just need some maybe I can pull Joyce over to my channel because she's always doing panels on her channel. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
make her come on a panel and she'll actually have to give her answers for it instead of leading it. Yeah. And I can
Yeah.
get the objective outside opinion because it won't be about me. Yeah.
Sweet. Who's in control now, Joyce? uh,
Yes.
oh my
Oh my
gosh.
gosh. Absolutely. I feel like now I need to make this happen. By take it seriously, I mean they almost seem to feel like they have to take on that opinion as well to make the
Yeah,
oh,
wow. Okay. This
that's a
like
good
sits
follow.
so much. Yeah. Before I was like, I could see that, I guess. It depends on. This makes more sense to me. Like, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to. You please
No,
continue
keep
your
going.
thought.
Keep
I was
going.
just like, blah.
No, keep going.
Yeah. For real, like I could totally imagine this. So take it seriously. They feel like they have to take it on board more. Like now it's almost like, well, is there something that I've missed? Like, is this a thing that, maybe other people think or feel some way about and I just never even recognized it? And also because they disagree with me, does that mean other things like the extrapolation perhaps or the
Mm,
extension of like NI on top of that of like, well, if they think this, does that also mean that other things are disagreed with, or does that have implications for other things elsewhere in our interactions, in our interpersonal reactions? I think that could be a potential there for an INFJ because, that NI is like at the front and foremost, kind of like seeing down the line. It's like suddenly there's this thing that's going down the line of like, they disagree with me on this. Does that mean they disagree with me on other things and they just haven't said it?
right.
I could imagine that. Maybe I'm wrong. If
Mm,
you're an INFJ and you hear me say that and you're like, no, then feel free to correct us. Like, feel free to correct me. Michelle didn't have anything to do with it. Just send the hate mail to me. It's fine.
send the hate mail.
I'm really good
Everyone,
at
send the
ignoring
hate
it.
mail. No, please don't send any hate mail. That's disgusting. Don't send hate mail. I
No, it's fine. You feel free. It's cool. I'll just burn it. It's fine. I'll just keep warm in the winter. That's how I keep warm. So yeah. Maybe that's how it is. Like with the INFJ, they're more likely to take it on board or take it seriously in that way. But
Well, we'll have
for me,
to
I'm just like,
explore that.
you're dead wrong. I'll just go
Yes,
with
you're
the
wrong.
wrong. Or you're wrong. Unless I got some reason that makes sense, and I'm like, oh, okay, I was wrong. Fair enough.
I am really excited. I'm gonna find INFJs and ISTPs, and we're gonna make this happen because I need to explore this concept further. And Jess, I'm gonna volunteer you if you're interested. I would love to have that. And maybe, a male IS. Maybe I'll bring Dave of all people, see if he'll be interested in joining. But he lives in Germany, so we'll just have to like really work on the timing to make it like work for everyone. Um, and then find some INFJs. We'll find Joyce, and some other people, and we'll make it happen.
With our name game, it's like, who knows who we're talking about now?
I totally forgot about the name game about like halfway through. I think I only called you Joyce, and that was like the only thing. And then at one point, I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I should correct everyone and say you're Jennifer." I
Right.
didn't. We had this plan, guys, going in, and the plan did not come out. But we were gonna like the first time I called you Joyce, you didn't even you like started laughing instead of doing the reaction.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't know what way it was supposed to go, and I was like, improvise, Joy. Okay, well, I guess I'm just gonna take it on the chin. That's my improvisation, is just to be like, I'm not attached to my name. I don't care what you call me. So it's fine. Sorry.
ISTP women are rare. I wonder if they're as rare as we think they are, and they are just mistyped INFJs out there.
It could be. Honestly, like I don't know. I don't feel very rare. I feel like an alien sometimes, especially growing up. Definitely did.
So with the whole like thing where INFJs are kind of seen as these like alien, like they don't fit in, like they're very unique. Is that like something that you related to a lot when you found that INFJ?
It's super loud here first.
It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I definitely related to that, and that was one of the things that I was like, well, I did feel like a total outsider all of the time. Yeah, technical difficulties, yeah. But I wonder now if part of that was just because, like, I know I didn't fit in with other girls. For example, that was a big deal for
Mhm.
me. Like, all of my friends when I was a kid, like, they were almost exclusively boys, and I got along with them because they wanted to do all the fun stuff. Like, they wanted to climb
Mhm.
the trees, they wanted to play baseball, they wanted to go riding bikes in the dirt, they wanted to go fishing. And it was fine up until like a certain point, because it's like, if you're under a certain age, boys and girls, for the most part, there's no thinking about like the fact that the one's a boy and one's a girl, right? Like there's no, I mean, just to think about like when I was a kid, there were only boys and girls. And now, obviously we've realized differently, or we have like different associations with things like gender and sex and everything. But when I was growing up, yeah, hanging out with the boys, that was like the easier thing to do. It just made more sense. Like they weren't focused on whether the boys like me, or like, I mean, obviously most of them were not focused on whether the boys liked them, most of them. Um, but they just didn't think about that stuff. It wasn't on their minds in the same way, and it was easier to like go and hang out and do stuff that I wanted to do as well. Like I was interested in like playing in the dirt. Like I was interested in collecting the specimens to look under the magnifying glasses with. Like, and just getting like rough and playing games, like, like playing baseball, playing catch in the field. Stuff like that was interesting to me. And girls never wanted to do any of that. Like it was very rare to find
Mhm.
a girl that I actually wanted to hang out with. And they were usually the kind of girl that was more similar to me, or just more accepting of the fact that I was
Mhm.
different from other girls. So yeah, I guess just being a tomboy. That's it.
It's actually ironic because I too did not make friends very easily with females. I didn't like hanging out with females quite as much, but it wasn't because of the activities we were doing, because I actually would do those activities purely so that they would hang out with me, not because I liked doing them. So I would like play
Oh,
baseball with them, even though I was terrible, and they just like put me in the goalie position because I was like the only thing I could, or like the catcher, I mean, not goalie. Wow, wrong sport. Um, like the catcher position because that's like the only thing I could do. But like I would want to hang out with them just because it was less complicated and there was less like politics going on with guys. Like there's just a lot, at least like when you're younger, a lot less social hierarchy issues, at least from my perspective with my experience.
Mhm.
Guys are just a little bit easier to navigate socially, at least when you're in elementary school and middle school. Um, they're just a lot more straightforward and there's a lot less like hidden agendas. And I have been burned by many females because I thought they were the same as guys and we were talking about things and it seemed like a cool thing and then, you find out later they didn't think it was a cool thing whatever you were talking about. They were just leading you on so they could get more information from you so that they could go talk to someone else about it. It's just like,
Oh,
why?
that's so painful. I'm so sorry. That really sucks. That sucks a lot. And I know what you're talking about. That's really not cool.
Yeah, I think it's affected my ability to make friends, to be honest, because I
Oh,
trusted people too much and then they took
no.
advantage of that trust because I was just a little I was like, "Oh, we have so much in common. This is so amazing. Like, look at all these things we can do together." Like, and they're just like, "I'm going to steal this friend from you because I deserve them more than you." And you're just like, "Why can't we all be friends? Like,
Oh my
why do I have to
god.
choose?" Like,
Oh,
now I get they just didn't like me for whatever reason. It probably wasn't like competition thing so much as they just didn't like me as much maybe. Or maybe it was a competition. Who knows? Like this is aha. She's a 5 and she's going to do it. Yes. All right. I'm going to message you and we're going to make this
yes.
happen.
All
Excuse
right.
me. And we'll get a couple other people and we're going to make it happen. Um and I'm going to try to force Joyce into it. She's really busy, but we're going to try to make it work.
Yes. One of us. One of us.
One of us. Oh, interesting. Mistyped as INTP early on. I can definitely see
Okay.
that as well.
Mhm.
Because ISTPs are like much more intuitive than your average, well, not your average sensor, but I think S ISPs are some of the most intuitive sensors, actually. And then I don't know which ones are the most sensor intuitives. I'll think about it. I just realized that the headphones on the StreamYard duck are headphones and not gigantic. Oh, they're not. I always thought they were eyes too. This little logo up in the corner, I guess, is not eyes. It's a headphones that it's wearing on the side of its head. The
Oh,
white
wait, you thought
circle.
those were eyes?
Yes. Oh
Oh,
my god,
hey
of course.
guys.
You're just like we're like, yep, they're headphones, obviously.
Just headphones with an S on it. Like, unless I'm looking at the wrong thing, because it's
No,
totally possible.
you're looking at the right thing. I can't even see the S, but that could just be that I need my glasses fixed.
Oh, you guys.
Which, once I get my second shot, one of the first things I'm doing is going to the eye doctor to get my eyeglasses because I am in desperate need of a fix because these are like 3-year-old glasses, so they are not
Ooh.
working at their best capacity.
I got you. I'm on my second year for these, and I haven't had my eyes tested recently. So yeah,
And
time.
it just your eyes continue and using glasses actually somewhat weakens your eyes, which means you slowly need a worse and worse prescription. It's kind of frustrating that that's the case, but also when you have astigmatism you can't just like train your eyes to see better, so you're just kind of light comes into your eyes weird, you're just kind of screwed.
Yeah, like the starbursts at night, like it's crazy.
Yeah, do you see starbursts on everything? Like every light has like an expanded array of, yep, yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It's like a little kaleidoscope thing around every light, especially it's especially bad at night, which makes night driving really difficult. Like driving when it's raining and it's night is the worst for me because there's just so many of those all over and it's like really
Yeah.
hard to see past all those like bright lights that are just like expanding their little tendrils
Yeah.
everywhere.
Oh my god, it's a
I'm
nightmare. Like it
so
just
glad someone
clouds
else does
everything else
this.
out. It's just like glare in all directions
Yeah.
and tiny little stars everywhere. I kind of like it for like the holidays though, because there's all these
Yeah.
festive lights up, and then you take your glasses off, and you're just like, it's just like, yeah, beautiful.
Well, Jeffrey, you're right. I just had bad experiences with some people. But the girls that I tended to be friends with were the ones who were more tomboyish. like this one friend who I was friends with. She might actually have been an ISTP. I don't know. It's too long ago. I can't really type someone from my past like that. But one of my best friends was very tomboyish, and we would just like play Pokemon. We would pretend to be Pokemon, not just play Pokemon. We pretended to be Pokemon. It was great.
I feel like we would have gotten along
We
as
would have, I
kids.
think so.
Yeah, I think so.
It would have been natural. Oh, thanks. Hugs back to you. Hi. Hello, love. I actually work with someone whose name is Love, and it always, like, in a way feels somewhat weird to be like, "Hey, Love," because it feels like I'm being really endearing with them when it's just like their name. Hey, Love.
Aw.
uh, Funny thing, as an ISTP, I kind of like most people. Aw. Do you feel like you like most people as well?
No.
It's very
I
no,
don't.
no, 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 no.
I'm indifferent to most people until I know one way or the other. Until I have like something to register them on, like until I have some information to work with, they are unknown entities to me until then.
Mhm. Oh,
But
interesting.
okay, I kind of like most people. I guess like the people that I continue to know long enough to get to know them, then I guess yeah, I guess I like them because I wouldn't spend time around them unless I like them in some way. But what is like? Like, is it because I like talking to them because they have good conversations going, or I don't know.
That is something that we could really delve into. And that's I think a really complicated thing is why you like certain people and why you don't like other people. Uh
Some
but
people are just super endearing, and you just want to protect them and love them.
yeah.
Protect them
Exactly.
is the main thing. I think that's it. Some people are just dead smart, and then I'm like, I respect that, and I like that. Whether or not you're a nice person is beside the point.
Sorry, I got distracted because Daniel's like, I tested that out. Now I'm blinded. I'm not sure what you tested out, but I'm sorry that you're blinded by whatever it was.
They gave themselves an astigmatism. Don't do that. Don't squeeze your eyeball or whatever the frig.
Hmm.
I don't
Astigmatism is not fun. Though it was fun when they told me that my eyes were shaped like footballs. So I was like, oh heck yeah. It makes sense. They look like footballs from the outside. They're like that shape of a football, like the oblong uh oval thing, but kind of like pointed a little bit. Makes
Is
sense.
this
I
because I
believe it.
squint too much? Like that's why. Just like just squeeze it into shape. Like I
I
don't know.
used to squint so much before I had glasses. My gosh. But I don't know. This is like for me with my astigmatism, it's not that I can't see, it's that I can't focus on it. And I can't like bring it in. Like I see the letters are there and I can count how many letters there are, but like recognizing them as something, especially the further it is away, the harder it is for me to do. But maybe that's just a me thing. Does
I noticed you like very quickly moved on from the vlogging about driving in the rain at night. I was like, don't do it. Don't do
Okay. So 2 reasons why this can't happen. I don't drive. There's just one reason, I just don't drive.
I don't drive
I don't
ever.
have a car, I don't have a license, but I could maybe vlog being in the car at night in the rain, but it probably wouldn't be as interesting because, I'd just be sitting in the passenger seat doing nothing,
Right.
looking at the
You're
pretty
probably
lights.
going to crash, right? Like, which would be like probably the most expected event if you were driving.
Dude, Nathan's always trying to like bring out the worst. He's like, Michelle, I love when I see angry Michelle. Michelle, can we see you
Like,
driving at night in the rain when you just admitted that you can't see at night in the rain? Okay, that's awesome.
oh my god.
Don't drive and you know how many people I see do that and I have this exact same thought. I'm like,
Yeah.
why are you touching your camera? You are driving. Like, put it down.
That makes me so crazy. Like, you should be focused on the road. That's actually why I liked motorcycles, because you can't.
Oh, you have to be
You can't.
focused.
Exactly. You have to be 100% focused on what you're doing. If you had one beer, don't get on a motorcycle. If you had a bad fight with somebody, probably don't get on a motorcycle, because your mind is going to wander elsewhere, right? Like,
Mm.
you need to be like, vision focus.
I wonder if a lot of ISTPs like motorcycles. Now I'm curious. Or just SE users in general. I don't like motorcycles. I don't like the idea of even getting on a motorcycle. I never want to ride a motorcycle. It is not one of my desires. Motorcycles scare me.
They're
Uh,
scary. They can be. It makes sense.
as an INFP, I kind of hate most people. No! Don't hate people.
Wow. Saying how you really feel.
Let it out. Let it out. I appreciate you being open with us and sharing your feelings with us. And I'm sorry that you're potentially more cynical from quarantine. And I hope that you can start to love people again and love most people. Most people are actually pretty decent, in my opinion. But maybe I'm just a perpetual optimist. Oh, looked in, no wonder you blinded yourself. Okay. Were you testing it right now? It is probably pretty late for you over there. Isn't it like way past wait. Well, Nathan's always up till like 4 in the morning. I don't know about Samuel though. You guys should meet up. You guys are close together. you you live across the what separates Ireland and Britain? What is that little body of water that separates the two islands? Whatever that is. You could just cross it and just meet
I
up
think
somewhere.
it's just tea, isn't it? Like, just wade through the tea, and then you get to.
Yeah, that makes
It goes
sense.
from being tea to Guinness, and then you're in Ireland, right? That's how it works.
Where the tea meets the Guinness. That's when you know you've made it to Ireland. Don't drive a I already
Oh,
um that I yes, I have actually done this. Forgetting that I'm driving while I'm driving. It has happened. But I also have a lot of anxiety around like just death scenarios in general, so I don't forget for too long. Oh, you are here still. Hey. Oh, that's sweet, but also, yeah, you can. How do you feel about that?
I
There's,
thought I don't know if they were referring to me.
yeah, I mean, the
Uh,
guest. Why
Guess
not
it's
the
kind of
guest?
hot.
Yeah.
It is warm in here. Thank
uh,
you. I think that if that was a compliment, I appreciate it. Thanks.
thanks, dude. Whoop whoop.
Whoop,
Sorry.
whoop, whoop.
Whoop whoop. Yo ho ho. A pirate's life for me. What about the Enneagram type? I'm not sure what that is in reference to. But we have talked quite a bit about Enneagram. So if you want to just like back up, we talked about it. I don't have any timestamps to give you approximate times, but a couple of times. We've been going for 2.5 hours, so a lot of things have been covered in this little period of
What?
time.
Have we really?
Yeah, the timer's up in the little
Oh
corner there.
my god. I'm gonna turn into a
Yeah.
pumpkin soon.
Oh, we can. I think the comments are slowing. We can cut it off pretty soon. Um, I don't like things that take half my attention. All of it or off. Interesting.
Mhm.
I am constantly splitting my attention between multiple things.
Yeah, no. That's so hard. I don't know how you do it. Is that just because of any? Like, how is that?
Oh,
How do you do
I'm gonna comment because you said something earlier, like you literally can't shut off the physical world. And my boyfriend has said that as well. Like he literally cannot ignore it, no matter like he literally just like a fly buzzes, he notices it. Like he can't not notice it. I could definitely not notice it. Um, I think that I get easily caught up in what I'm thinking about. And it could be something that I'm seeing or thinking or whatever. Like I'll like zone out completely what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing. I retroactively respond to things that people say sometimes because it takes me a second to register what I heard. And my boyfriend's always like, "How do you do this? Why are you doing this? Like, how did you not? Why did you wait so long to reply?" I'm like, "My process. It. I didn't hear it when you said it." He's like, "But you heard it." Yeah, I heard it late because
It was
I
queued
heard.
up, okay?
Yes, that's I would say cued is probably the best way to, like, explain what's going on in my mind is, like, the sensory information is cued based on, like, level of importance to what I'm thinking about at that moment. So it's really easy to, like, lower things down the cue, of focus. I often, just put things on in the background too to just kinda, like, I'll put on music just to, like, blur out everything else to make it easier to tune out my physical reality. I appreciate tuning out physical reality. It's something I do a lot.
I'll put on like really terrible TV. Like I'll put on like whatever's the worst thing I can find on Netflix. Sometimes I'll just play
But
it
you won't
in the
watch it?
background. Exactly. So I can actively ignore it. It's like active
Mhm.
listening, but the opposite.
Active ignoring. Yeah, 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 yeah. Just imagine that the ENFP can do that whenever they feel like active ignoring.
Superpower. It's a superpower that I
Yeah,
wish that I had.
yeah, but we can't turn it off very easily. So
Oh,
it's like when yeah, when I'm hearing you talk about like, yeah, it's like nice to like not experience reality and I like get to relax and just be in my thoughts. I'm like, you know how nice it would be if I could just like it takes a lot of conscious effort for me to be aware of my reality. Like I have to put a lot of focus into being aware of the present moment.
wow,
Like a lot of energy and a lot of focus.
man. If
It's
only we
very
could have like a
fascinating.
Freaky Friday with like
Oh
functions.
my god, yes.
Would that be so neat? Like, oh my god.
I would love to know. I wonder if I would be like overwhelmed by all the sensory stimulation at first, but maybe you'd be overwhelmed by the sheer quantity of thoughts happening.
I think so. I think the quantity of like connections to things
Yeah.
too, like just all in different directions. Because in my mind, I'm like, as soon as there's too much, like I already am struggling with the fact that I've got like a limited working memory from
Mm,
ADHD, right? Like
mhm.
there's only so much information that can stack before I'm like, I lost that part, that's
Yep.
gone, that's out of here. Like, don't even try to remember what they just said like 5 seconds ago, okay? Like, what was the gist of this situation? I have to rely on the gist sometimes because I can't remember the details
Mm, mhm.
because my working memory is just not filing them anywhere. It's just like, I'm gonna put that in the bin for you for later. It's like, okay, well, I don't ever check that. That's the trash.
Yeah,
Um,
it is a trash bin.
yeah, but yeah, I think that would be overwhelming, but amazing as well. I think we'd probably, by the end of it, probably both seem like we were insane until we got back into our
Yeah, right. But
functions
it would
again.
be fun. It would be fun. I've almost thought about like trying to do a whole day of like trying to be aware of the moment and trying not to be in my thoughts, but it's hard to imagine doing that. The dopamine deprivation.
Our poor little synapses are all like just shriveling up. Like, God.
Oh. Oh, this person is asking enneagrams for ISTPs are they can be any of the 9. Um, they can be any of the 9. It'll just kind of change how they come off a little bit. And I think Enneagram, just side tangent, can be a cause for mistyping um, because of how it affects, like, even how we were talking about last night, Nightcrawler. The main character is obviously an ESTJ. Like, we've gone through that work and now we see it. And it's complicated by the fact that he's an 8, which makes it seem more focused on the future goal and being able to work towards that in a way that seems or is deceptively similar to NI, but it's not. But that Enneagram affects it and makes it come off differently. Um, I wonder how many people are mistyped because of the Enneagram.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And also like, I mean, there must be clustering, right? I think with the ISTPs, there is like supposedly a cluster around fives,
I could see
and
that.
then around nine, and then like 6, 7, 8. Like like they are much lower, much less likely, and then sometimes fours or whatever. But um, that was the last time I looked at anything where I saw clusters of enneagrams for ISTPs. 6 was actually pretty low down there. I was like, oh, maybe I'm not a 6. Like, you can't question that just based on like the
Right.
fact that it's less
The
likely. That's
statistics,
stupid.
yeah.
Yeah, I immediately threw it out. I was just like, Joy, don't. I mean, Jennifer, don't.
Jessica.
Jessica, don't.
Jordan? Jerica.
I love it,
Okay,
Jerica.
Jerica.
Oh my god,
Yes, we figured
I'm
it
gonna
out.
get my new ID soon. So, Jerica, here we come.
Love it. Um, this is an interesting way of wording the question. So they're asking for you. Um, they are an INFJ, and they're actually curious what made you want to change to ISTP.
So INFJ just wasn't fitting. Like I consistently hit hurdles where it just wasn't fitting. Um, I think the main thing was it's so hard for me to describe TI because it's like describing the air that you breathe around you, right? Like, or whatever. I don't even know if that's the right way to describe it. But like TI wasn't something that I immediately identified that I was like exercising all the time or the way that I like saw the world. But certainly I noticed the inferior FE. Like that was something that I kept hitting on painfully over and over and over again. Like, this is something that I should be better at. It's something that I don't seem to be as good at as I should be if I were an INFJ. Like, it's just not happening. And I'm not making the same decisions that I've heard other INFJs make or that I've heard is like what an INFJ would do regarding FE. Like, it's not about maintaining like stability. It's like I don't focus on that at all. I don't even know if that's really truly what an INFJ would do, but I know that there is like some larger priority regarding maintenance of like stability amongst other people or like the group,
Mhm.
or helping people, helping in some way or shaping things for other people in some way, looking at their values and like trying to make sure that everybody is happy and not like offending a huge portion of people or whatever, or even just one person. And to me, I'm just like, I'm far too selfish for that. I don't think that being selfish is a bad thing necessarily. I think that if you need to be selfish, you should do it. And I constantly was trying to overextend myself in ways that I was not prepared or equipped to do. Like if I had FE higher in my stack, I would be able to do it, I think. I would hope. But I just couldn't. I was overextending myself and then burning out, like having FE burnouts or whatever it was. It was just like this sense that I was just never doing what I needed to do as far as FE was concerned. So that's clearly my pain point. It's clearly the thing that's inferior for me. Um, but I still care about it. If I had FI in my top stack, it probably would not be something that I care about to the degree or feel responsible for to the same degree. FE's clearly up there. It's just like I suck at it. So, yeah, I think that's why.
Yeah, and even to kind of like piggyback off what you're saying, a thought I had about INFJs is more so it's harder for them to turn off the FE so that they can get to the TISE, so that they can get to like the facts and the logic. It's hard for them to let go of the need to like make sure everything's good to get into those ideas. Um, at least that I've seen, just FE in that second slot in general. Is hard for them to turn off, but they kind of need, and in socionics it's called like the creative function, and there's like this sort of thing about INFJs where it's like they don't necessarily want to actively change the environment to balance it out, but they are at their best when it is. And so they can consciously do that. That's still going to be stressful for them, but they also just like can't move forward if that's in like if there's like tension in the air, it's going to be really hard for them to move forward in the conversation in general. Not that they can't get over that, but that would be much more likely to be an INFJ problem than an ISTP problem.
Yeah. Like, I'm almost like, I don't care. I don't care if there's conflict per se. I'm more interested in there being progress towards us all kind of understanding what the hell is going on, right? Or like, just don't tell me how I feel about stuff. I personally don't even know how I feel half the time, but like, it's not about how I feel about it. It's whether or not it makes sense or is true or is fair. Those are priorities for me, whether it's true, whether it's accurate, whether it's fair. Those are important. And what I personally feel about it always is way, way back behind other things. Like, even to the point where I'm like, shoot, what I said was really offensive, or it was really blunt, or too direct, or I didn't take into account how other people would feel about me saying that so directly. And now I have to backtrack and I have to be like, I'm really sorry that I said that. It wasn't intentional that I said that in that way that like upset you or offended you. It was true at the time with the information that I knew. That was true to me. And I
Hmm.
wanted to convey that because it seemed pertinent at the time. And yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Blech. Blech.
I'm sorry. I just didn't have anything to add. I just thought that was a good statement. Maybe I could have said, that was a nice statement. Thank you for sharing that.
No, you're fine. I'm just like, I don't want to over talk, and that's definitely something that I can do because
Oh.
yeah, I don't know if that's the ADHD or not.
Well, I would stop you if that's the case. And if at any time you're like, I need to get going, please just let me know. I know it's been quite a while that we've been going. And I was like, oh, the comments are slowing down. And then like a bunch more comments come in.
I am 100% relying on you to end this thing, so you
Okay.
just tell me. Okay. All right, thank you.
We'll end in the next 5 minutes, okay, guys. We've been
Okay.
going long enough. We can call it quits eventually. Where I was fully in the moment. That is a hard, pretty much the same. There are like very slivers of moments, but it's not long. They're usually like flashes of moments where I'm like in the moment and I'm like really drinking in. But even still, I'm thinking like, oh, this will be a nice memory for the future.
Aww. Oh, that's so sweet. Oh my god.
Yeah, see, that's exactly it. Like the type 3 can make you, if you're an introvert, come off more extroverted. Um, exactly. I think harmony and balance is really important for INFJs. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, of not being able to turn off. Yeah, exactly. Um, and I think that, if you're struggling between INFJ and ISTP, think about how much FE is a problem for you and why it's a problem. Is it a problem because you can't stop accommodating other people and you can't stop like bending your what you want to talk about and what you care, like what you want to bring to the table because of other people? Or is it you accidentally offend people and you don't understand why you're accidentally offending them? If you don't understand why you're accidentally offending them, you're probably not an INFJ.
No, you probably intentionally offended them if you're an INFJ and they're offended.
Exactly.
INFJs can offend other people and intentionally do it, but I think they're much less likely to do it. I hope.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's something I've thought about, was doing like having ESTP or like having another type tell me like how to live my life for a day so that I can be as much like them as possible. I tried going to forums and ESTPs and ISTPs on the online forums were like, no, you should just be yourself. And I'm like, you don't get what I'm trying to do.
Right.
They're like, you can't be an ESTP. I'm like, yeah, I know that, but can you like tell me how to be more like you so I can practice? Like,
Oh my gosh. I had this like there was this idea, and It was my one idea for the year, and I was like, maybe just like get all of the types and put them in a hat, and you pull out the type, and that's the type that you are for the day, and you try to emulate that type. But like you said, like going and asking other people how you would do that, I guess that's like TE or something. I don't know. Like, how would I do this? To me, I'd just be like, they seem like this, and then I just like pretend
Yeah,
that I'm.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's probably the only effective way to do it. Um, how do you explain the fact that you came across to me as being NE in your humor? Are you talking about Joy? Is that something you remember him saying?
Yeah. Uh, I explain it as don't question me. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. How dare you put me on the spot about any humor? No. I don't know. Okay, so I thought about this a couple of different ways. It could be because of ADHD. I thought about this afterwards. Like that inability to stay on the same station for long enough, like can sometimes come across as any. Maybe that's part of it. That I just had to find some coping strategy or some coping mechanism to make up for the fact that I'm constantly switching gears or switching from one thing to another. But as far as any humor, I think because that is so, there's a particular type of humor that seems to be more any structured, right? It's like seeing that leap, like you're leaping, but you're skipping a bunch of steps that you never communicated, and other people are like, oh my god, how did you come to that? Like, I could see that sometimes. I think I only make one or two leaps ahead because I'm like, well, this is something that I could see being funny if it was extreme. Like if I pushed
Mm,
the nth degree, like what's a very strange and like extreme version of this normal thing that I can turn into a joke to alleviate the
mm,
tension or to, whatever, make it funny or whatever. Um, and humor has always been for me like a stress reliever or like a tension reliever. It's something that I rely on. Like I think it's like I said before, part of being a six, but self-preservation is like relying on humor to like soften the blow and like to get along with
mm,
people and like never to conflict or whatever. And yeah, I think just finding the most extreme thing, sometimes that can seem like I've leapt to like in an any way, but NI also thinks about all of the possible paths and narrows them down, right? I think
mm.
NI also thinks about multiple things that could happen and then like finds the one that is like the best direction to go in. TI too. Like those things, NI and TI, I think in some ways, because they come up with all of the options and then find the best avenue, it can come across as being NE humor because I'm trying to find the most extreme thing to find it, hilarious. So, I'm really bad at coming up with examples on the spot, which is indicative of having poor NE. Um, but at least I think so. But yeah, like just, I don't know, just something that seems mundane and then being like, what is like a ridiculous like option that could happen from this? What is the most incredibly unlikely thing that could happen from here that is at extreme? Make that the joke.
That's interesting because I do that with like FE kind of stuff. So I'll pretend to be like offended about something or um, pretend that I have this really strong emotional reaction to something that I have like no emotional reaction to because the funny thing is the fact that I don't have the emotion that I'm pretending to have.
Oh my god.
That is, like, a humor I really like to like, me and my boyfriend do this all the time, like, he'll pretend to be a misogynist, and I'll pretend to be, like, a super, like, feminist, and we'll just, like, have these little jokes, and we'll do it in front of other people because it's so funny seeing other people's reaction to how we talk to each other, because we don't mean
Yeah.
it, but other people sometimes feel the need to, like, butt in after we say these humor things, like,
Mhm.
how could you say that? Like, how could you say that about your girlfriend? She's right in the room. And I'm like, yeah, I'm totally hurt right now. You guys need to like tell him to apologize to me. I don't even know how to go on anymore.
That's hilarious. I love it. I love how awkward it is.
Yeah.
Because it's safe, because it's like, okay, this is so far away from what the
I
reality is.
really feel. Yeah, exactly. It's not what
Yes,
I really, which is funny because you're saying it's so far away from your reality.
yeah.
And this is like an extreme version of it, which is
Uh-huh.
also the same for me, but it's my FI reality that I'm pretending is something else to see people's reaction to it.
Okay. Maybe this is like SE then. Because it's like, how far away can I make this from what could
Right.
really happen? Like, it's so far from the concrete that I'm utilizing it. I don't know.
Now I need to like test a bunch
Huh.
of people's humor styles and see how it relates to their functions. But also, I wouldn't call myself like that funny in general. I'm more so goofy and I sing a lot of things, which other people find funny. I wouldn't say that I have like necessarily humorous things to say. I'm not a comedian by any extent of the word. I would like to be. It would be fun to make people laugh, but I don't think I'm that funny.
Uh, I don't know. I think I could see it.
Oh. I'm trying to think like what even is any humor, just like making a leap in logic or I don't know.
No, like, how would you describe it? Like, how would we describe any humor? Like, if it's actually coming from somebody with any,
Yeah.
what do you
I
think?
think that I see more of a difference between humor of SE and SI, where SI likes situational weirdness. So like especially like dad jokes are really great for SI users. Like just like ooh, I see how it like it's like no, oh, this you're using this in the wrong circumstance. Hey, look at you using the wrong word. That's funny. That's punny. And I know like a lot of like NTPs use like very strange puns that are like play on words. I see any as being like play on words as being the humor, whereas SEFI is like situational humor. I mean SENI being more situational humor, which oftentimes can be like expressed as like slapstick humor, like they farted, that's funny. But just like an exaggeration of, you know, whatever it is in reality, I think could be. This is something I will now have to think about for hours and come back to you guys. Um, ooh, that will be really interesting to address is
Ooh,
hyper focus. I have the activity, the hyperactivity. That's like the worst part
okay.
about my ADHD. Um, what is INFJ humor? INFJs, I feel like are not like totally that much into humor. They like to be pretty serious in my experience.
I think they can
Um,
get pretty morbid if they let themselves, though. They can
oh
have
yeah, the
dark.
morbid humor. Yes, dark humor. That's a good one. What is
What?
see now we could really get into the philosophical questions, but I am just gonna
Um,
kind of go through these last comments and then we can wrap out wrap up. I'm never serious unless I am. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yes, we do like puns. My husband says my humor drives me nuts. It's all about blowing up taboos. Yes, I like that. That's fun. That's why I like Ricky Gervais because he like takes taboos and he's like, "What's this? Something I can't talk about? Tell me I can't talk about it. I'm going to talk about it in the worst possible way, and you can't tell me it's wrong because it's humor." And I love that about Ricky Gervais. Like he knows no boundaries, and it's wonderful.
I love Audrey Plaza's sense of humor.
The just like dry, you don't know at all if she's being
Yeah.
serious or not.
Is it Audrey or Aubrey? Audrey or Aubrey
I
Plaza.
think
But
it's
yeah, you know who I'm talking about, right? From Parks
mm,
and Rec.
yeah,
April.
the like dead-eyed girl who just okay, come on. You cannot deny that she just like constantly looks like her eyes are like she just doesn't care. Like her eyes look
Yeah.
like she just doesn't care ever. That's just like what her and that is just kind of like dead eyes. Like they don't have emotion in her eyes.
Yeah. I just love it so much. Just like so dry and like, yeah, she turns awkward into an art form because she can like control the awkward. I think that's really neat.
Mhm. Oh, speaking of this, I had a teacher who I'm 99% sure was an ISTJ. He was teaching history, and every day before class, he would read one joke out of his book of jokes. That was his humor. He had a book of
The
jokes.
humor, it's time of the joke of the day, kids.
That's what it was. It was the joke of the day. It was like legitimately, he made sure every single day to make a joke of the day.
That's great.
Um, yeah, playing with the words. Nice, nice. They're going the pee pee poo poo. Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
she does have weird
lovely.
humor. I love it. Hi. It's nice to see you. Has. Okay. She Oh, I see. You said had. She does. Oh no, you said
Oh,
was.
was, yeah.
Has. Yeah. She is still living as far as we are aware. We have nothing to contradict that fact. But it's like Schrodinger's cat, right? Because even though she is a celebrity, at this moment, there's nothing live streaming her life. Therefore, we don't know until we see her again. Isn't
Like
that the
at night,
crazy thing?
I don't know if the sun really still exists.
Exactly.
I
Dude,
mean, of course I do, but
I'll like to pronounce things incorrectly. I see.
oh, okay.
Savage, dark, plain words. Nice. Poop is funny. It's also gross, but it can be funny.
I
There was
think it's
once,
weird when an adult says it.
yeah,
I don't know
about
why.
talking to a child.
Yeah,
Oh my god. That was a grade in the class. Oh my god. Of course.
that's amazing.
Aubrey seems dead inside. She does a little bit, but I think that's just like her persona that she lets herself have for society so that she can have some sort of like protection from for herself from society. At least that's my interpretation of it. But I could be wrong. I don't know the lady. I don't know anything about her except what I've seen in interviews. And that is a life lesson about humanity. You don't know people until even if you talk to them, you don't know each other. So it's just like you can never really know someone, and especially if you make assumptions about how they are just based on their actions.
Yeah, I think that ties in really nicely with this too, like the changing types, and if you're, I'm not gonna like say what I think you're probably going to say, but I will say this: if you have been struggling with a type that you think that you are, don't be afraid to change your type. Like, don't be afraid to like look into other options for yourself and find something that is a better fit. Because if you're sticking with one thing, I mean, I think it's important to finally find something and try to settle on it and not just swap it up every single day or week or whatever. Be thoughtful about it, but really put the effort into find something that really is suitable for you and not just sticking to something because it's like cool, or you know other people have told you that you're like it. Like, their observations are not always going to be as helpful as you might think initially. Like, observations from friends and family are helpful in as much as they can indicate patterns of behavior, but why you do the thing that you do is the most important part of it. It's not just what you do, it's why you do it.
Hmm.
So yeah, don't be afraid to change it up.
Yeah. And reflect on those things. Like if somebody tells you that you're doing something, try to think about why it is that you do that and try to see how that answer relates to the type, not what you're doing. There have been times when people call me introverted because they see me and I'm not engaged constantly in conversation. Like there's this one friend's house that I go over to, and every time I like kind of turn into an introvert. I just kind of sit there and observe them, and the reason why I do that is my own reason. And that is, I just don't think they enjoy talking about the things that I enjoy talking about. So therefore, I talk less and I let them talk about the things they want to talk about. And I join that conversation when I have something to add. Unfortunately, I'm not as knowledgeable in that information. So I don't have as much to add. And I don't want to take away from what they're talking about. So it is a conscious decision to be quieter and to not engage with them in conversation as much, not because I don't want to engage in more conversation, but because I can still gain a lot by listening and paying attention. But if I ask them, these people would probably say that I seem like an introvert because I never talk when I'm around them. And it's not because I don't have anything to say. It's just they don't see that side of me because they see the side that's like accommodating to them a little bit, which is probably a little bit of a 9 thing as well. So like my Enneagram is probably like playing some kind of role, but you know, we could get into that kind of area really at any point. There's lots of things to say about that. But the real truth of the matter is it's okay if you change your type.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, it's better if you're closer to your true type. Another comment that you said is don't take the opinions of strangers too close to heart. Yes, people, and I see it on my own Discord server. I see it on other Discord servers. I see it in the comments. People will say, oh, that behavior, that's NI, or oh, that behavior, that's FE, or oh, that behavior, that's SE. That is only as helpful as it is that you understand your actions and your reasons for your actions. A lot of people associate actions with functions that are not directly correlated. They are just sometimes typically seen with certain people. Like lead FE has a certain vibe to it, but that doesn't mean all people who have that sort of vibe are going to be FE. It could be a really unhealthy INFP who's really trying to like go over and above and beyond to like accommodate other people because they really fear what will happen if people aren't accommodated, and they've hurt people with being too upfront about their emotions, so they keep it to themselves and they turn on this like gregarious side of themselves. Like there's so many things that could be going on. So just, it's okay. Try not to take other people's opinions too seriously, but also be willing to take them into account as well. Not everyone's completely wrong, but just use better judgment. And don't build your identity around your type. That's just like the number one thing. Don't build your identity around your type. You'll do what I've been doing for the last year, which is like trying to prove yourself rather than trying to improve yourself. Don't prove yourself, improve yourself. That is I'm going to write that down. Don't prove yourself, improve yourself.
I see some merch coming out in your future with this on it. Yes.
Yes.
Do it.
Improve. Yes, that is gonna be merch. It's gonna happen.
Yes.
But is there anything else that you would like to say? Do you have any social media or anything you'd like to share with people so they can find you or anything like that? You also don't have to if you'd rather not, so it's up to you.
I mean, if you want to put my Instagram in the description or whatever. I post really inconsistently because that's the kind of person I am. I am an inconsistent person when it comes to like producing things. I'll just make whatever I feel like making, or whatever I'm going to make. And then I guess get on Michelle's server. Also, like Michelle mentioned before, I am an admin on the LoveWho server, so you can always check us out there as well if you want to engage in these communities. Like I think that's an important place to go to like get in touch with other individuals that are also like, you know, getting to know the functions, or like maybe they're able to provide you some like hopefully objective insight or something, or at least bounce ideas off of. Like that's the whole point, is to have some sociable interactions that could be fun and it's interesting. And especially during a pandemic when everybody's just kind of like stuck indoors so much more, this is a nice opportunity for social engagement too, as at the same time as growth. Like what more do you want? A cheeseburger.
I think, yeah. Oh my God, a burger and a beer at a bar just is like, I just want it so bad. I just want to sit in a bar, have a beer that somebody poured with their hands, and I don't care if they've got germs on it, and just drink it.
Yes, if we ever have a meetup, like we should totally get that to happen. That could be a reality. Let's do it.
Yes.
Yes.
One of the things I've been wanting to do since I joined Mbti community, so many communities have like cons like meetups, conventions, and MBTI doesn't. But it would be so amazing to have an MBTI convention where we all just get together and get real nerdy about personality and just enjoy our time together and, you know, just have conversations and talk about things. It would be a
Yeah.
lot of fun. I want to make that happen. We'll see about timing though, because COVID obviously put a giant old wrench into that thought.
Uh,
Oh my god, we're not gonna call it MichiCon. That is not happening. Oh, but yes, it
This is
does.
bright. I just realized this must be super bright. Sorry, guys.
No, I think he meant night light because it's night for him and he's watching on his phone probably. So it's probably like a lighting up his room. It's probably the only light in his room. He probably meant it pretty literally.
Oh, okay. I mean, either way, it could just be glare off my forehead. I've got like a lot of oil.
Oh my god.
I don't know.
You didn't find anything? I found you looking up Cosmic Death, I think. But I'll put some links down below after the video's over. I'll edit the description. But yes, come hang out with the Discord. I have learned a lot through Discord communications, and it's just nice to talk to other people who are looking to grow themselves and be better people, and have open conversations. And with Joy made a backlight with a glow stick. Oh, okay. I don't.
Wait. Oh, not the Joy made a black light with a glow stick. Yo, yeah, that was that thing that I shared in the show your talent or
Oh, hold on.
yeah. And maybe that's what they're referring to. I use like blacklight strips, like LED strips, and then like glow in the dark resin
Oh, hold on.
inside of those tubes.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Okay, hold on.
Oh, okay,
Hold on, guys.
cool. Wow. Wait,
Hold on. I'm gonna
I
share
don't
this real.
recognize Samuel versus like usernames on the server, so I might be missing something there, connection. But I'm assuming that's what they're referring to. Ooh.
Okay, I'm just gonna share this for just a second so you guys can all see.
Oh
Oh,
no.
oh, it's here. There we go. Beautiful.
I had put it on the floor so I could plug it in because I had just finished making it, but it's not up on a wall yet. I remember saying, like, I'll probably put it up tomorrow.
Famous last words of any perceiver. I'll probably do that tomorrow, especially if you have ADHD. I'll probably do that tomorrow. Got
Yeah.
it.
I waited longer than 5 seconds and now it's put somewhere else so I can't see it in my visual field. It's gone. It basically doesn't exist anymore.
Oh my god. Konnichiwa. That's hilarious. Okay. All right, we're done. We're done. We're done. I'm
Okay.
gonna stop. It's too easy to get sidetracked to pull more comments, and it's a lot of fun hanging out with you guys. It has been 3 hours, and I said I was gonna stop this half an hour ago. I also really need to use the restroom, so there's that. You're welcome for the extra information that you may or may not have wanted.
You didn't just wear an adult-sized diaper like I did? Like,
Oh, okay. See, thinking ahead. I like that. I like that a lot.
I'm very uncomfortable. No, I'm kidding. Just joking.
But I want to thank you all so much for hanging out with us and having this little conversation with us. I will leave this video up so it'll be live. You guys can check it out, post the video. Definitely like and subscribe. Like this video right now before you leave, please, and thank you. It helps other people find my videos. And then if more people find my videos, I can do more videos because getting views is rewarding in the dopamine area. And the more dopamine you get, the more you want to make videos. So the more you guys help my videos be popular, the more I want to make videos because you guys want to watch it. And it's a win-win for everyone. So thank you. Good night, everyone.